Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
SoundArt introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home. By combining the best of two products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. SoundArt ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
A new deputy stepped up out west in Phoenix, but the sheriff hasn't backed down, and Daniel Falkingham has a layup ahead to clinch the NORC Season 13 championship. Somewhere up Route 66 from Arizona and the Phoenix Raceway, we gear up for race 24 of 25 Chicagoland Speedway tonight. NORC is live at the Chicagoland Speedway on Pit Stop TV. Welcome to the virtual Joliet, Illinois. Eric Brennan alongside on the mic this evening. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV. You've got Emerson Arden on social media coverage. And I welcome you all to this evening's Pit Stop TV coverage of the NORC iRacing Series Season 13 Chase. It may not have been that 10th win on the 13th season of NORC that Daniel so desperately wanted last week, but the gap to second was only extended as Zoltan Hergzeg fell further through the order. And Eric, after Zoltan Hergzeg was so good for so long, he's not even in our new top 3 headed into the final 2 races of the season, and second is only separated by 1 marker.
Obviously, the elephant in the room is the fact that Daniel Falkingham very well is going to clinch himself a championship here tonight. But one of the things that you and I have been hinging on here are subplots. And that battle for second in the championship is certainly one we're going to keep our eye on, especially because the level of momentum that Chad Oxendine is carrying by virtue of that win, beating out Falkingham on only 2 tires versus the 4 that Daniel took on the last pit stop on the green-white checker. That's really something that Oxendine is trying to ride out to a runner-up finish in points. But boy, John Barry and all the work he's done for this league and the fact that there are no indications of a win so far this season on the right-hand side of his name in the standings, I know for sure he wants to try to be second best this season to Falkingham, who's been dominant, but Barry definitely wants to get to victory lane. Those are just some of the storylines we're going to keep our eyes on here in these final 2 races, even as Daniel's most likely going to wrap this thing up tonight.
Yeah, there is, as always, a lot to unpack in these standings. Of course, the fact that we've talked about, Chad Oxendine, John Barry, just 1 point apart. John Barry's winless, so great points there. But then you look 5th, 6th, 7th. David Schutt, Sean Williams, and Brett Pancari. They're only a few points apart themselves, so watch that mid-pack battle. Those are some guys that have moved around a lot in that midfield, I feel like. And especially Sean Williams, somebody who, let's be honest, would not be in this top 10 currently, if not for the chase. He's risen in this chase and has moved up almost into the top 5. So if he can get 3 more points without losing anything to Brett Pancari, he would go into the final race in a top 5 spot. That would be huge for Sean Williams. It's been a real weird season for him. You gotta also look at guys like Cody Miller, Howie Briss that are hanging on, and if something happens ahead, they are within range to make some moves on drivers in front of them. Let's go to the track. Let's talk about the track a little bit before we get into championship clinching scenarios. We'll revisit points shortly, don't you worry. This is what we're looking at. 11 degrees of banking in the tri-oval, 18 degrees in each corner, 5 degrees on that sweeping backstretch. You never do go perfectly straight here, Eric. Honestly, weirdly enough, if you're ever pointing the wheel straight at any point in time, it's between the tri-oval and the corners, be it turn 1 or turn 4. So it's that weird little moment in time. Otherwise, you're never going perfectly straight here unless it's down pit road.
And while the future of this racetrack is still somewhat up in the air and not looking all that great on the real-world side of the fence, this track, because of the fact that it's pretty much been sitting in its normal pavement since its 2001 grand opening, has become one of the more racy mile-and-a-halves that you could get your hands on in the sim. I'm really excited to see what this Xfinity-style car in NORC has in store for us here today. You mentioned a unique characteristic of the back straightaway, but we have seen multi-groove racing, and the last time that these cars were on a true mile-and-a-half was Texas. That was a track that, of course, has undergone multiple changes over the last few seasons, but we saw that thrilling charge by Freddie De La Rosa late in the going in order to grab himself a victory on the NORC season. I expect tonight's race to kind of flow in similar fashion. I think we're going to be entertained all the way throughout this one. No matter where Falkingham and the championship picture unfolds, I think the race tonight is going to be truly something remarkable, and I'm excited for it to get going.
So we'll see how qualifying goes here in just a moment to set up all of our storylines. Let's also check out the schedule as to how we've gotten here this season. You can see we're at race 24. I mean, this is just about it. Chicagoland, then Las Vegas. But look at all the races prior. Daytona, in fact, twice actually, as well as Talladega twice. But Kansas early in the season. Michigan, North Wilkesboro, Kentucky, Road Atlanta, Dover, Homestead. A lot of these, yes, Daniel Falkingham won. He didn't quite win at the iRacing Superspeedway. I do believe he won at Iowa. Then there was Nashville, Auto Club, the Talladega Duels, Martinsville, Road America, Atlanta, and Legacy Daytona as the cutoff race for the NORC Season 13 chase. Then we unloaded at Indianapolis. Daniel won there. Texas, Daniel almost won there. Bristol Dirt, Daniel won there. Darlington, Daniel won there. Phoenix, Daniel almost won there again. It's been Daniel Falkingham all season long. He has been the storyline just about. There have been others that pop up, but it's been just about all Daniel Falkingham here in Season 13. You can see times are rolling in. Qualifying is underway for the 24th race of 25 this season. Zoltan Hergzeg, somebody who has kind of fallen from graces recently. He's currently on provisional pole.
And over the last 2 rounds, we've been very critical of Zoltan. And Zoltan's someone who we love to talk to as he gets really loose coming off the corner, keeps it off the outside retaining wall, and so far is fastest in this qualifying session. But we've been kind of critical about his driving habits and kind of stepped over the edge, in our opinion, at Darlington. And at Phoenix, we saw him have a little bit of an issue there and quickly pulled the plug on the night. But it appears as though he's hit the reset button here because early on in this session, that's post his flyer there, he appears to have the time to beat. Now, Howie Briss was having a great run last week at Phoenix before being swept up in the crash on the final lap, and he has that Home Depot looking ride moving pretty quickly down his back straightaway. Needs to pick up just a little bit of time here to challenge Hertzeg for P1.
Yeah, how about Howie Briss right now? Second on the speed charts in qualifying. You see Jared Rochon currently third. Everybody's favorite, Terrell Baker fourth. Brett Pancari fifth. Sean Williams, Zach Lindgren, Cole Freilich, Josh Robin, John Barry. The rest of your top 10 and the drivers that have qualified so far. Now, I'm looking at the car count, and this is the biggest thing that the championship is hinging on this evening, Eric, the car count, honestly. And that might be a little bit of a weird, I guess, storyline, weird thing for a lot to consider, but if we do not get 24 cars, Daniel Falkingham clinches this championship. Currently, we're at 22. You can see there's only 2 on that last page of drivers. We are at 22 cars. I had a graphic, and I'll run it real quick. I had a graphic made specifically for the possibility of Daniel Falkingham putting the car on pole this evening. He would clinch the championship with a pole qualifying run. That's it. That's a stat. That's all we've got for you there. But he doesn't even have to qualify. We only have 22 cars right now, which, of course, let's be honest, iRacing leagues, they usually taper off a little bit in car counts when you get to the end of the season. A lot of drivers, they don't see the reason to run anymore, especially if they're part-time. I don't get it personally, but it is the truth. The Chad Oxendine goes fastest. So a lot of drivers tend to taper off at the end of the season anyways. 22 drivers dedicated to run every week is still not bad when you consider all the leagues that run every night and all the different places these drivers could go run. So still pretty solid when you consider all of that. Here is Daniel Falkingham currently working around the speedway. I believe this would wrap up well, I don't know, actually. I think this will be his first flying lap, so he's already taken his out lap. This will be his first time, and across the line he goes. Does he put it on? He does. There it is. There's the 3 bonus points we were talking about. So 3 bonus points for Daniel Falkingham, and yes, if that holds, he's your champion.
I'll tell you what, with 30 seconds left to go, as available opportunities to get your car to the start-finish line to kick off your lap here, I'm not surprised. Daniel is someone who is as dejected as we've heard him all season long. Just 1 week ago with that runner-up finish to Chad Oxendine, he wanted to try to win out, but this is someone who can certainly challenge him for that pole run. This is Femi Olot, who has gone to victory lane a number of times this season. The super speedways have been great to Femi, swept the Talladega Duels, but he also got himself a win on the short track at Iowa Speedway earlier on in the season as well. And as he comes to the line here and hopes to complete that lap, not sure he was able to get it done there, Andrew. That was relatively close. Maybe it's official? Let's see.
It's official. Daniel Falkingham, with the 3 bonus points, is your champion. That's all we've got. And we'll run the grid during this, but I've got to talk to him. We've got to go ahead and talk to him. And maybe it's going to throw off his game. I don't know. But hey, it just makes it better for these guys to race after him. Daniel Falkingham, I have news for you, and I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but with that pole position, and with just 22 cars in the field, you are the champion.
Darn right. I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, I've heard talks about how the points are going to be and whatnot, but I guess to make it official now, that's so cool. Man, that's cool, I guess, to make it official. But right now, I'm going to do some celebrating definitely tonight, but now I got 134 laps to run to, I guess, basket all in.
Yeah, I know you've got a lot of ways to race here, but I gotta ask, you've just about, essentially, wrapped it up with 3 races to go after Phoenix last week. How does that feel as a driver? I mean, that's gotta be incredible.
Yeah, it's great. The friggin' run we have had in the chase and stuff, either finishing first or second all 5 races and stuff, has been remarkable, and that's pretty much how we build our points buffer. So, I mean, just to have, now we get to have 2 races to have some fun, go win these last 2 races. Oh man, it's gonna be a blast, and I like to sing "We Are the Champions," but I'm gonna wait till after Las Vegas. So, yeah. So right now we're gonna go enjoy this race. Maybe we can go get a win that I should have had last week, but let's see if we can capitalize.
All right, buddy. Well, best of luck to you tonight. Obviously, we'll be watching around and wishing you the best of luck in your well, not final opportunity to go for double digits, but one of your final 2 opportunities. I think it'd be a 1-0 or a 1-1 in the win column. Either way, it's pretty impressive, buddy. A lot of wins on the season, and I have a plan. Don't you worry. I have a plan if you go and get double digits as far as what we're going to put on the graphic. So just you go and do it. We'll see.
We're going to try to make it happen. You guys enjoy the race.
Daniel Falkingham is your champion. Before we even take the green flag this evening, I think that speaks for itself.
The one thing that I love here is the cars begin to roll off, and we'll have just one parade and pace lap before we unleash them for, as Daniel mentioned, that 134-lap contest that we're about to watch unfold, with him trying to put an exclamation point on this championship with a victory here tonight. The one thing to take away from his ability, not just this season, you heard it right there. Even in the interview where we were congratulating him on clinching the championship, he could not let go of the fact that he thought he had the car to beat at Phoenix last week. That's what makes this guy so much fun. That's what makes him so competitive, and it's what's made him so successful this season en route to this NORC Season 13 championship. And I wouldn't be surprised if he runs the table, Andrew, but this is going to be the first hurdle he's going to have to get over. And, oh, by the way, he's starting alongside the car that beat him to the checkered flag at Phoenix last week, and Chad Oxendine, who's vying for second in the championship. This is still going to be a good one.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to watch for this evening, a lot to keep watching for, and we're glad you're doing so here with us at Pit Stop TV. Cannot wait to get this race underway. Of course, it would not be a NORC iRacing Series green flag without bringing in the one, the only Terrell Baker, so we'll do so now. And, buddy, this is it. The final 2 races of the season here, Terrell. Go ahead and take us away.
All right, boys, here we are here at the Windy City. Can I get on Windy City? Yeah! La, la, la.
Green flag 2-3 wide down the backstretch. Hardly a straightaway, so we'll call it the backstretch this evening with Sean looking down low at TCB down to turn number 3.
Jared Sean's one of the most impressive drivers in the late stages of this NORC season after coming onto the scene relatively late. But you have out front a couple drivers who dominated the first half of the season, one of which continued his dominance towards the second half and route to his championship. That's Daniel Falkingham leading Zoltan Herczeg, who's trying to right the ship in his own right. He's got a battle for the most recent winner, Chad Oxendine, down low. Howie Brisk continues the strong run behind him, with TCB making it double wide, 3 rows deep as a matter of fact. Behind him, it's Cheney and Washawn as the front 7 are packed together in 3.
You got this afternoon start time, sun low in turns 3 and 4, and it's starting to blind these drivers into those corners as Terrell Baker digs down low. He's going to have 4th across the stripe. That completes lap number 2. Falkingham faster. Now Pancari faster. How about that into the 35 car? You see Oxendine, he's gotten away from Zoltan Herczeg for now, and he's going after that 20 car.
Combination of this style Xfinity stock car with this style of 1.5 mile oval just kind of leaves me longing for more. And judging by the early laps of this race, I'm already in love with what I'm seeing here. These guys are going at it, but they also have their hands full a little bit as TCB got loose off turn 4. That's going to allow Bobby Cheney a chance to run up alongside. Cheney's been on a bit of a run as far as strong qualifying efforts. Could tonight be the night where he puts it all together and gets himself a solid finish? And how about this? Through the middle behind him comes another couple of cars. That's Cole Freilich making some noise.
2 rows of 3 wide. It's like the start of the Indianapolis 500. Here comes Cole Freilich in his brand new Supra, threading the needle. 3 wide between John Barry and Terrell Baker. Now he's fighting on the outside at TCB. Gets that spot around the 25, and quickly, TCB is going the wrong way.
Yeah, unfortunately, TCB kind of got trapped on the bottom, even though it seemed to be the preferred line for the front runners who were running single file, with Howie Brisk trying to work the top just up in front of him. Now Freilich gets himself slotted in behind the 2 car tonight of Hayes Boot, trying to pick up some positions there, as Freilich's been on a big move up through the pack. First side-by-side battle, though, is for 3rd. Howie Brisk, Zoltan Herczeg, Bobby Cheney looking low behind him. Freilich trying to continue his charge further forward. We talked about subplots, Andrew. Freilich, Brisk, all a couple of names trying to crack victory lane for the first time this season. And right now, they're looking pretty solid early in this race.
And along with the cream that's rising to the top right now, we talked about Howie Briss. He's now battling for second on the outside of Daniel Falkingham because Oxendine is checked out. It's lap 6, and he is taking off from the rest of the field. This is not a race that I would have pegged as maybe a race for Chad Oxendine to go win. He was winless for so much of the season after Homestead, but think about it. Homestead, it's racy, it's got multiple grooves. Chicago fits right in that box.
This is certainly a race that is right up Chad Oxendine's wheelhouse. And, you know, we talk about the surface of this racetrack. You can just tell as Cole Freilich is rim riding around the top. Hayes Booth got boxed in behind Zoltan Herczeg. That allowed Freilich to pounce. He's going to get up to the top 5, maybe the top 4, and he may try to work the high side on the NORC champion and Daniel Falkingham. Freilich has got this top side rolling, and the fact that this surface is as worn out as it is what's allowing us to see the bottom line not be necessarily the preferred line, at least at this point in the race. Freilich is making that outside work in a big way. He's up to 4th.
Cole Freilich moving forward, Howie Briss moving forward. Here goes Cole Freilich. Can you see his Miami kind of colored 15 to the outside now of Daniel Falkingham? He gets the car there. They're side by side down to turn number 3 this time. It's lap 8 of 134. 200 miles the distance for these guys. And already the first however many, I want to say 12 miles. Yeah, 12 miles. What a show these guys have put on. We expect to hopefully get into some nighttime. So don't you worry, we should get into some of the dark with a little bit of lights, and I cannot wait to get there. It's only going to ramp this stuff up higher.
One of the things about Cole Freilich in this season, he's someone who always catches our attention whenever he's competing in any type of vehicle. He puts himself to the test in all sorts of different cars. As you see, Hayes Booth has also gotten around Daniel Falkingham, but on the NORC side of things, it has not been a good run. Granted, he hasn't run all the races. He's got 19 starts counted to his points tally. Did not make the chase. Was outside the top 12 in points. Only 1 top 5 and 2 top 10s this season so far. And he evidently does not want the season to end with those similar statistics. Obviously, the elephant in the room is the fact that he's got a big fat 0 in the win column. And he is someone who has told us personally he feels that he has what it takes in terms of talent, commitment, and poise as far as practicing for these NORC events, just hasn't had the luck to go with it. It appears he's found something, though, up in that second lane. He is rolling his way up closer to the top 2.
Well, how about just the entire, I guess, 2nd through 4th currently. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th right now. You're looking at Howie Briss, Cole Freilich, Hayes Booth. 3 drivers that have not exactly even been close to winning yet this season, but could all really use it. They've had great runs here and there, and they've certainly worked their way up through the standings into that kind of mid area. And they're running 2nd, 3rd, and 4th right now on lap 11 at Chicagoland. Look deeper in the top 10. Terrell Baker, he's still hanging on. John Barry still winless. He's 7th. He's won here at Chicagoland before in the NORC iRacing Series. Jared Wishon, what a run it would be for him to continue this rookie tear. It's not going to be an official full rookie season, but he's 3 wide right now with Sean Williams and Terrell Baker. He wants 8th from the 25, maybe 7th if he can get digging on Kentucky native John Barry.
How about the racing that's still going on throughout the top 10 there? Looked like things settled down amongst the top 5, but you look at this fight here from about John Barry on back. That takes you from 7th on back, as a matter of fact. You see everybody utilizing all different types of lanes on this racing venue here. And how about Patrick Colby? I know it's early in the going here, but here's another driver trying to end the season on a high note. 1 spot shy of the top 10 right now, riding behind that of Sean Williams, who has had a quiet but very consistent season. Williams, another driver who's yet to visit victory lane, as we watch Lindgren trying to work on Colby. But how about 8 top 10 finishes that help propel Williams not only to chase contention, but also currently holding down 6th in the championship points? We had a chance to talk to Sean following one of our more recent races, and he kind of hinted at the fact that his strategy is oftentimes to stay out of trouble, and he's doing just that here early in the going. And while we see guys like TCB struggle with the handle of the car off the corner, Williams is trying to pounce here to see if he can move up to 9th as he almost taps the back bumper of Baker and 1.
That was close. TCV is not liking the way that car is handling so far. It seems like in a season where a lot of these drivers have complained about the lack of downforce in the nose as opposed to the rear, where a lot of drivers have been tight, they haven't had enough front grip, it seems like Terrell Baker is quite the opposite right now. Pretty loose out of the corner, and just, it's that four-wheel slide. It's like it hits a bump, and maybe is bottoming out as well. It might be a little bit too low on the ground right now. It's bottoming out, it's traveling up the racetrack. Problems ahead. Cole Freilich 3 wide with Zoltan Herczeg and Daniel Falkingham. I noticed he's suddenly dropped out of 3rd and 4th, and now he's into 6th as those two go by and he catches the wall.
Well, that's an unfortunate bit of a situation there for Freilich off turn 2. Trying to keep his foot in it to the outside of that 3-wide battle, and he caught the wall pretty good. And he's got John Berry, Jared Washawn and company breathing down his neck after that scrub of the fence off the corner. Herczeg keeps the fender outside of Falkingham, who gets loose off of turn 2. They continue to run wheel to wheel for what would be the 4th spot, while Oxendine, Briss, and Booth continue to hold down the top 3 positions. Even though we're only 16 laps into this race and 16 laps into this run, it looks like we're seeing some pretty heavy swings as far as handling on these cars already. I believe that the guy who's able to, or I should say the driver is able to master the conditions here tonight, as it's already starting to get darker and darker as we approach the nighttime hours. The one who is successful tonight is the one who's able to hang on throughout the changing track conditions, because it's throwing some of these guys for a loop.
And I didn't want to put a negative connotation on Howie Briss and Hayes Booth moving up through the field so quickly, but they are charging on this short run, and they were charging, and now it's starting to bite them. You can see where Zoltan Herczeg and Daniel Falkingham are so much more experienced, and let's be honest, so much better as Falkingham goes to the big move to the inside of Zoltan after checking up for Hayes Booth at a turn number 2. Now Falkingham fighting on the inside, trying to take that spot away, but Daniel and Zoltan will sit back and save their stuff, whereas Hayes and Howie clearly didn't. They went for it. They wanted to get those early spots, and they've now got to contend with their tires falling off a lot earlier. You can see Josh Robin leaving the pit lane. Not exactly sure on his issue right now, but he is a couple of laps down. Meanwhile, again, Daniel and Zoltan are going to quickly eat these guys up, and possibly Chad Oxendine as well. They sat back early. They ran hard for a couple laps, then sat back, and they're letting this run come to them, and that's what you've got to do at a place like Chicago. And you talked about it. The track is weathered. It eats up tires. You've got to save.
And it's really providing a lot of very fun and close racing. You can see that this pack is actually starting to catch Howie Briss for what's going to be a battle for second as we continue to run 3 wide with Herczeg trying to rim ride the top. That's close off the corner. They somehow make it work with Falkingham trying to maintain his momentum on the bottom side. He'll have to concede the spot to Booth, at least for now, but he sends it back in on the inside. And you're right, Andrew, that rubber band effect is something that's going to be evident all night long, but I can't help but feel as though I'm wincing a little bit watching some of these guys like a Falkingham send it off to the bottom of the racetrack on the inside of some of those 2 and 3 wide battles, because we've seen these cars slip and slide a little bit. You have to have a lot of confidence in your ability and the way you're attacking each end of this racetrack to know you're not going to slide up into the competition, or like what we saw Cole Freilich do, get up into the wall. And that's impacted Freilich a lot. He's all the way back to 13th right now with that minor nudge to the outside wall.
Yeah, I mean, he has dropped like a rock since then. And again, it's a matter of going up there, tearing up your tires, and then you're just not able to race quite the same way. If you burn up the right front, you're going to drive off the right rear suddenly, you're going to get very, very loose. And I imagine that's what's gone on for Terrell Baker. He's overheated the right front, and suddenly the balance of the car is completely shifted. If you burn up the right rear, if you're loose at first, you'll then start to have to drive off the right front. You're going to get very, very tight. You're going to knock the wall down. If you do a combination of the two and just abuse your right sides in general, that's where you get into that four-wheel slide territory, and you're just not going to have a good time at all. The car might be relatively balanced, but when it takes off all at the same time as Herczeg moves up right in front of Howie Briss, a lot like Kyle Larson clearing himself in front of Kevin Harvick the other night.
It's at that time, fortunately, Herczeg didn't get hooked towards the outside retaining wall. I'm not sure that Briss liked that too much, but nevertheless, he gives up the spot to not only Herczeg, but also Falkingham, who continues to be quite committed to that inside lane there. Exception being off of turn 2. He ducks back in the tire tracks of Herczeg down the backstretch, and watching the gap to Chad Oxendine, you mentioned earlier on in this race, Andrew, how he was able to build up a bit of a gap here, and I'm wondering if the approach of a Herczeg or a Falkingham is going to allow them to slowly start to eat up that 1 second margin that Oxendine's been able to build here, perhaps driving a similar style to that of a Briss or a Booth, who have kind of lost a little bit later in this run. I guess time's going to tell. Right now, Oxendine able to maintain that gap so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say exactly how the dynamic of this race will go, at least this early run. We don't really know. We've not seen Chicagoland on the channel in a long time, and certainly not with the NASCAR Xfinity Series cars. We've been surprised so much this season that I don't even want to nail myself down to any one bet. Anytime I feel like I do so, I end up wrong. So we've got to wait and see what these guys do initially. If you break down this 134-lap race, it's a lot like Kentucky earlier in the season, where we're probably going to have 2 stops, one around 40 to 50 and another around 80 to 90. I feel like that's cut and dry. But as far as exactly who's going to be fast when, you just never know with these races, and things tend to swing a lot of different ways. You can see the gap right now, Oxnard to Herkzeg, it's actually grown over the last lap by about a tenth.
You mentioned the pit stops that may in fact be looming in this two-stop race, and you know, for the most part, pit strategy, even on some of the oval races that we've had so far on the NORC slate, has been a bit of a big story. You don't want to pit too early and get caught out by a caution, especially when you got ill-handling cars running 3 wide like what we see here on the bottom portion of the top 10. But the undercut has proven to be a very effective tactic in order to be able to leapfrog the competition, or you can do what Daniel Falkingham does, and that's just kind of wait till the very end, pit late, and charge as hard as you possibly can, and make up the distance on your own. So this racetrack, even though it kind of has that early green flag look and feel to it, where we won't see cars get off strategy because of the timing of yellows, I think we still might see a pretty diversified pit strategy as Sean Williams went full send to the top lane there in turn 1. I still think we're going to see a lot of differing approaches as far as when they're going to come down for those stops. As those 5 to 10 lap swings could make a big difference as far as how you're going to be able to maintain your position or improve it in the running order.
What I saw out of Sean Williams in 1 and 2, I actually really liked. He sent it in there, you saw the car really bobble at the top of the racetrack, but he was able to hold it up top, and that's a big thing that iRacing has worked on as of late, trying to improve multi-groove grip and actually give these drivers grip up high, as Hayes Booth is all over the outside wall, catches the safer barrier, drops about 5, maybe more positions. He's going to drop out of the top 10. There he goes behind Zach Lindgren, and that moves him down to 11th. Sean Williams will move him to 12th. But I like that Sean was able to get in there deep, slide the car for a second, catch it, and get on his way. He didn't get in so deep enough that he got into the fence or anything. He was able to hold the car in that top groove. Obviously, Hayes Booth jumped that cushion a little bit, but it's proving that it can be done.
Now, and I guess that's also a good optic there as far as the fine line that you have to face when you try to do something like that. We saw Williams be able to kind of make it work for him, didn't give him the speed advantage I think he was looking for on that first attempt, but then we saw somebody like that, of that 2-car, of Hayes Booth get up there and kind of jump the cushion, as you said, find the wall and lose a bunch of spots. And, you know, now the question becomes, A, how much damage is there to that car? B, how long will it take for him to work his way back up towards the front of the pack? You mentioned one of the cars that got on the wall earlier, Cole Freilich. It drop kicked him out of the top 10 early on, and he just hasn't been able to work his way back further forward just yet. In fact, he's still mired back in 17th spot. So overcooking it a little bit and scraping the wall may seem like that it doesn't have that much of effects, but boy, it really can when compounded with how much you've burnt off your stuff that early. And interesting to see if Hayes Booth is able to work his way back further forward, as we still got some great racing going on here about 6th on back.
And something that's worth mentioning, and if you tune into a NASCAR Xfinity Series broadcast these days, you'll hear it talked about, especially at a racetrack like this, is Falkingham and Herkzeg going at it once again, still side by side here for 2nd and 3rd. You'll hear the fact that these drivers, well, the cars have composite bodies talked about. Basically meaning at Homestead, Chicagoland, tracks like this where they can get up on the wall, Darlington especially, they can get up into the wall, and that composite body, it's plastic almost. It's not plastic, but it kind of acts like it, where you think of a plastic water ball. I got one in my hands, so it's a great explanation for me. You can bend it, and it wants to go back. It wants to hold its form. Steel, those old steel bodies that NASCAR still runs in the Cup Series and Truck Series, yes, they will want to hold their form to a point, but once they get pushed in, they generally don't push back out very well. The composite bodies, you can generally get up into the fence and keep rolling a whole lot more easily. While that is to a point simulated in iRacing, it's very hard for iRacing to dictate between a rolled steel body and a composite body, so you don't have that same forgiveness. There might be a little bit extra forgiveness built into the car's suspension, but as far as the body, you're not going to have that extra forgiveness like you would in a real NASCAR Xfinity Series car. So that's a big thing you have to remember. There are limitations when you put this stuff on a computer. Yes, iRacing has a lot of dollars going into their software. Yes, it's amazing. But there will still be small little, shortcomings that are just extremely hard, if not impossible, to overcome, at least in 2021, if not sometime in the future.
That's a great point, too, that these drivers have to keep in mind here. And we see the effects that damage has, on all types of racetracks, especially that of the mile and a half. And that's certainly been negatively impacting Booth, Freilich, and perhaps a couple others who have gotten up into the fence early. They may have an opportunity to get it fixed, but you may not want to invest the time if you got to come down and make a green flag stop. So some of these drivers may be hoping for a caution here to help kind of re-rack the field as things have gotten a little bit spread out throughout some of the top battles that we were keeping an eye on here. But I'm very impressed with some of the likes of that of a Bobby Chaney, who's holding well there. But we got our camera right now on Will Klein. And Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe Will had that great of a starting position, and he's been methodically, actually you see it there on the bottom of your screen, started 17th. So he's been one of the hard chargers up through the pack early on, and he's doing it in a pretty methodical fashion, if you will.
And a yellow flag flies for Hayes Booth. Oh my goodness, and that car was hard against the inside wall. You had a great point. Will Klein, he was somebody we were watching moving up through the field, and he had gone through some 12, 13 cars to get to where he is now. And then this caution flag unfortunately derails everything Hayes Booth tows. And that car, I think, would have been perfectly fine to get back to the box, but ends up towing regardless. So we'll go ahead and check out exactly what goes wrong for the driver out of Mississippi. I saw his ma, Lori Booth, checking in and telling us about how this was Hayes' rookie season, of course, and he's a baby compared to the rest of these guys in the series. And sometimes it's just a matter of experience, and right there, I think it's a matter of experience getting Hayes Booth. And my goodness, that's two big hits. And we had talked about getting up into the wall and the fact that you don't have the same forgiveness as the real composite bodies these cars run on these days. But that first outside hit, that'll do it. It doesn't matter if you hit the wall previously or not. That first hit to the outside wall that he had out of turn 2 will certainly give you some problems. And he was loose. He was dirt tracking through the entire corner, gets the safety barrier, turned down to the inside wall, and whammo.
And that car was yawed out pretty well throughout most of turns 1 and 2. And hats off to Hayes for trying to stay with it and keep the momentum up. And, I know I use the term rather often, but, stop the bleeding that he had been experiencing after getting into the wall the first time off turn 2. And we're going to go look at it here. And I love the fact we're going to be able to see the hands on Hayes here as he's going to try to start right there, slowly turning it back, keeping his foot in it. He fought that thing for a while. Unfortunately, he ran out of racetrack, and once it hit the wall, it hooked him back. He did everything he could to straighten it out, but that's a pretty solid flush hit to the inside wall, and that may be all she wrote as far as Hayes' hopes for the night in terms of a solid finish. But he's been very impressive. We've seen a lot of flashes of brilliance out of young Hayes, and he actually has 3 top 10s on the season thus far. Did miss out on the chase opportunity, but for someone who's relatively new to the NORC slate, he's turned some heads, he's had some great finishes, and this is all part of the growing pains as far as getting used to and acclimated to races like this, setups like this, and talent, the depth of talent that we have in NORC. And unfortunately for Hayes, this is how his night is going to be highlighted thus far, with this slap of the wall and slide across the infield grass after being, up in the top 5 pretty much for the early portion of this run.
He gets the wall there, and at this point, he's going to end up locking the brakes down, it looks like. And if he had let the car roll a little bit, I think he would have at least glanced that blow a bit more. And I think the reason he ends up towing here in a second is he checks the engine damage. We've talked about earlier in the season, but basically, these drivers can push the clutch in, let it idle, and you get to see exactly how much damage you've acquired to the motor. And you'll be able to kind of index whether or not you're going to have problems on the next run. Likely put the clutch in, and when you hit the concrete wall like that, Eric, it's never going to be good. You're never going to like the news, so I would imagine that's why he made the decision to go ahead and tow, and is out of the session, unfortunately, so he will take the 22nd spot on the field this evening. But everybody else coming down the pit lane, including Josh Robin, 3 laps down. Everybody else coming in, getting service, and actually Josh Robin's in the pit lane currently as we speak, with these drivers getting 4 tires, getting fuel, and boy, I would like to know how one Howie Briss is doing after that run, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. Why don't we try to pull him in here and talk to him real quick? Howie Briss, one of the cars that I've totally enjoyed watching and keeping my eyes on here over the last few weeks. And Howie, I know we talked about you a lot last week at Phoenix. If it wasn't for the crash in the last lap, I'm pretty sure that would have been a great day for you. But tonight is going just about as good as the start of that race did at Phoenix. What happened to put you on a bit of a roll here as of late? This has been the best we've seen you run all season long, and it's fun to watch.
Everybody went to the bottom. I took the top, and there was nobody on the top, which means no dirty air. And I just got by them. I think Zoltan and Daniel were saving tires, and Chad just pulled away. So I actually like that run. I didn't want the caution to come out, but hey, it is what it is.
Well, it's certainly been fun to watch and a sentimental favorite for many. We noticed you switched up the paint scheme as well. You're rocking the 2002 Tony Stewart-looking design, it appears. So what's the story behind that? Do you think maybe that's your good luck charm?
I don't know, maybe. I like Tony Stewart. I mean, I felt like, hey, you know what? Last couple of races, let's spice things up a bit. Just threw it on there for fun, and I think this paint scheme is actually starting to stick. So I should have ran it at Bristol, maybe, but I don't know. I'm starting to rock it now. Starting to become the old Tony Stewart that everybody used to know.
Well, we're enjoying watching it, Howie. Best of luck here. Going to be restarting outside of row 2. Go get him, bud. Hopefully we chat later.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
And again, that's Howie Brisk going to be restarting in 4th after a second great run, Andrew. And I'll tell you what, maybe that paint scheme is a good luck charm. I know we got a long way to go here, just under 100 laps still remaining, but Howie's got a great night going.
Yeah, and he's very, very deserving of a top 5 run at the very least. He's really put a lot of work in this season and has improved a ton, and I would like to see that driver go up there and get a pretty good finish. Green flag gonna fly here. Lap 38 in the books. Lap 39 now underway. Everybody getting down onto that apron as we go back green flag. Side by side, not row number 2, but position 2 and 3, and here comes Falkingham right to the outside of Oxendine. He wants to get back in front of that 66 car.
Oxendine's going to slide up the racetrack. Will we see a crossover perhaps here? Falkingham nearly jacks up the backside of Oxendine's car. Now moves up driver's right to try to get a little bit on that rear spoiler and get a good run into turn 1. Falkingham working the high side. We're side by side for the lead.
Still working the top. Falkingham's got the better run out of the corner, and Chad Oxendine almost gets into the door of the main driver that's just wrapped up his championship, but he still wants to go and get wins. He still wants to add double digits to that win column. He wants to get 10 wins. It might come this evening, and across the line, he's got the lead back for now. But this battle is going to continue on, and we know how good Chad Oxendine can be on saving tires and preserving a long run. We just got to wait and see what that Summer Shandy, number 66, might be able to do. And this, I think, mirrors earlier on in this race where Daniel was good out of the gate, then suddenly it was Chad, and Chad ruled the rest of the run.
But Howie Brisk starting to enter the frame here. We just heard from him. He got up to 3rd on that restart. Is closing up on these 2. But I'm wondering what Oxendine can do now that he's in the tire tracks of Falkingham. And it looked like turn 2 was the spot of the racetrack where Chad's car constantly wanted to drift up the racetrack. Falkingham was able to pin him just enough to force him to lift to give up that spot. Now Oxendine's going to try that high lane off the second quarter. Falkingham comes up, shuts the door on him there on the back straightaway. Oxendine stays with him. And look at this pack of cars here. So we got a newcomer in the top 5. Jared Darling from Hangout Back trying to get 4th from that Zoltan Herzeg holding down the 4th spot here.
And this is a run that Jared Darling needs. He hasn't been here for all the chase. A couple of things have come up for him, but he needs a morale boost. This might do it in that Briars number 1 to the outside of Zoltan Herzeg, at least looking for now. I just like that he's up here right now. Maybe played some pit strategy. It looks like it's still a 14-second stop like anybody else, but at least executing on that pit stop, executing on that long run, putting himself in a good position, and I like the look of the 1 car now down to the bottom side, hugging that white line on the inside of the number 96 Supra, takes that spot away in up 1 spot.
And this run is starting to look really similar to what we saw happen to Zoltan Herzeg on the first run of the race, where he kind of lost some spots early in the going, and then about 10, 12 laps into the run, he was able to flip the switch and just start charging his way back up towards the front of the field. So we'll see that if this starts to fare the same way. With the changing track conditions, with the sun starting to disappear more and more, the lights are coming on here at the virtual Chicagoland Speedway, we might start to see some of these newcomers, like that of a Jared Darling, who's up in the mix who you're on board with here, like that of a John Berry, who's starting to float his way up towards the front of the pack. And how about Spencer Owens, who is up in the top 10 for the first time tonight? We may continue to see this trend of comers and goers continue on here, as we've got some great racing all throughout. How about Spencer Owens taking it 3 wide on Will Klein and TCB out of 2?
3 wide they go, and they end up getting back 2 wide. Then the 12 car looking to the inside now of the 25. Howie Briss is now fighting up there with Chad Oxendine. It's hard to pick a battle right here, Eric. I really don't know where to go. We can highlight quickly that the Home Depot number 97 is up a spot, the top 5 all in line, but we cannot leave this right now because Bobby Chaney and Terrell Baker are side by side following John Barry. And let's not forget, the battle's on for second place as Spencer Owens charges the middle of that 3 wide situation again. Let's not forget that John Barry is battling heads up with Chad Oxendine coming into this race, 1 point separated for the second position in the championship. Even if it doesn't come this evening at Chicagoland, John Barry has got to best Chad Oxendine somewhere, and if he doesn't make up some ground that he's losing currently, it's going to have to come at Las Vegas next week.
The good news for John Barry is that Oxendine may be falling back into his clutches as now Jared Darling is working the top side here on Oxendine through 1 and 2. As Howie Briss has gone to the point, Darling is trying to come with, and it looks as though that Darling's been able to wedge that car between Daniel Falkingham, the champion, and the outside wall to challenge for the second spot here. So this run is really starting to look a lot like what we saw the first time through, as we got some drivers who are being very aggressive off the jump. But man, in the midfield, some of these cars look so edgy, it's hard to keep your eyes off some of these battles, as now Oxendine works the bottom of the racetrack on Falkingham. These two just can't get away from each other the last few weeks. That's the fight for third now.
But I love it. Howie Briss and Jared Darling first and second. That's what we want to see here in these last couple of races, especially from those two in particular, I feel like, as Falkingham gets that third spot back away from Oxendine, gets down in front of that 66 car, and the top 5 run in a line once more. But I say in a line, it's not like it's a Daytona kind of conga line or anything. These guys are trying different lines. They're moving around. I mean, you can see the one car, he's way up the racetrack right now. Jared Darling, an Illinois native, this is his home track. He wants to go win this evening. A little bit high at a turn 2 there. Maybe nips the wall, but that car is looking good. He is just looking good right now.
I really hope he did not make contact with the outside retaining wall, because that's pretty much been the kiss of death. Cole Freilich was the first one that we saw catch it there. Not seeing any obvious damage there on the right side of that car. Looks like he may have gotten away with that one, but that was the one that hurt Cole Freilich's night. Of course, then it was Hayes Booth who nipped the wall before his impending crash out of turn 2. And Oxendine is continuing to slide a little bit further down the running order here, and that is the car just behind him that Andrew Cardinale IV was just talking about. John Barry, 1 point the separator between these two for the runner-up position in the championship. Barry can now see Oxendine clear out the windshield as you're on board with him off turn 4. You see Barry keeping his foot in it and counter-steering that car a little bit on corner exit. He's got the bit between his teeth here. We're more than 1/3 of the way through this race. Barry knows that's the guy he's got to catch and pass.
1 point apart at the beginning, sure, but it's definitely at least, well, of course, a lap led for Oxendine so far, but I dare say the most laps led currently for the 66 car as well, so that's some bonus points going the way of Chad Oxendine, and of course a position ahead, that's 1 more point. So it's more like 7, I dare say, thereabouts. Maybe not 7, but 5, probably 5 or 6 right now that John Barry's got to overcome. So he's got to get in front of that 66 car, at least go lead a lap or so, and put a few more positions in between he and Chad Oxendine. It's not happening just yet, but there's still a lot of race to go, and you can see the sun is dropping. John Barry, he has won here before. In fact, going back to, maybe he hasn't won here before. I was doing stats earlier today, and I guess he has not won, but here comes Daniel Falkingham. He's also somebody who has not won here before, but he's going to try this evening.
And who would be surprised, right? Falkingham's able
Nobody.
to squeak out of here with a win tonight. I don't think it would be an ultimate shocker, but nevertheless, it seems as though that this opportunity at a 10th win has been eluding him, for, just one race or so since he last visited Victory Lane at, of course, Darlington. Speaking of Darling, Jared Darling is starting to fall back a little bit here on the outside lane. We talked about that rubber band effect. He was one of the drivers who went all the way up there, charged himself up to second place, and just like that, in about a lap and a half, 3 cars have gotten by him. John Barry's next in line. We'll see if he continues to skate back through the field. Now the question becomes, Howie Briss, is he in that same boat? Because Falkingham, Herczeg, and Oxendine are trying to set sail and catch Briss at the front of the pack, and that gap has now come down to less than 0.2 of a second. Falkingham right there at the rear view of Briss's car, looking low off 2.
Yeah, I mean, how can you argue between Howie Briss and Daniel Falkingham? The stats don't lie. We love Howie Briss, but let's be honest, we know the 20 car is faster. It's a matter of execution, really. It's what it comes down to. We know Daniel Falkingham is a little bit better, a little bit faster. He's the champion. He's wrapped it up before we even took the green flag for the final 2 races. Zoltan Herczeg has been right there with him for most of the season. We know that the 20 and the 96 should pass the 97. It's a matter of whether or not they do, and that's where the execution part comes in, especially with Zoltan Herczeg trying to cross up Falkingham for that second spot. That is the time that needs to be bought right now from Howie Briss. And here comes Oxendine as well. These 4 are about to have a really good battle, and don't look too far behind because here comes John Barrett to the inside of Jared Darling as maybe a change for the lead from the 20 car.
Murray trying to get by Darling behind. How about Howie Brish trying to hang tough there on the top side? Both he and Falkingham get a little bit sideways off of 4. If that was the race for the finish, Falkingham would have had it by a fender. What could Howie Brish do on the top side? We heard him in his interview earlier. He said he loves running up top here. Clean air on the nose, able to keep the momentum up. He's got to keep that fender outside of Falkingham up too. He's still got a fighting chance to hang on to the lead here. I think Falkingham's going to have the advantage going off into 3. This fight will continue on. Herczeg trying to find what lane is going to work for him. He'll now move inside as Falkingham cements the lead.
And I'm not sure exactly what the race will look like next week at Las Vegas, but I doubt it's going to be anything like this. It's more of a strategy racetrack. Nothing against Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but it tends to string the field out. It's not multi-groove, at least not quite like this. This, I feel like, should have been the finale. It's been the finale before, and what a race it's been so far. Almost 60 laps into this thing. We're nearing halfway, Eric, and it's not felt like it.
And this has been a constant, this type of battling and sizing up for position and the comers and goers effect that makes racing at places like this so much fun and really makes your driving tactics so important and the way in which you choose to navigate your way around this 1.5-mile racetrack. We got another newcomer coming up into the top 10 for one of the first times that I've seen on the scoring ticker all night. On board with a multi-time winner, Femi Olot on the season. Now trying to make his way up into the top 10. He's there. Jared Darling, we talked about his skate backwards. Well, it continues. He's fallen out of the top 10. Just lost that spot to the 3-time winner, Femi Olot, as there's still some heavy racing going on up ahead of him. Also, Ariati has moved up into the picture. I believe that's the highest we've seen him run all night long as TCB gets loose out of 4. Move Ariati up to 7th for the time being.
Now, I can tell you with certainty that Ari is a 2-time winner here. He's got experience. I mean, he's actually tied with the most wins here, right along there with Marcus Richardson. Other drivers to win here at Chicagoland and NORC competition. Let's see, Bobby Zielinski, Femi Olot, Freddie De La Rosa, Zoltan Herczeg, Will Klein, Justin Lisenby. So, big names that Ariati is within in that win list here at Chicago. He knows how to get around this place, right along with Will Klein, who is behind, and Zoltan Herczeg, who is behind by a couple more positions. But he's in front of Femi Olot right now. So, the fact that he's in front of a Joe Gibbs gaming driver that has won here and actually not as many times as Ari, I mean, it's looking pretty good right now for the 23 car. That's what I'm trying to get at is, oh my goodness, Jared Darling. What a scare out of turn 2. Saves it, but what a scare.
Good scare for Sean Williams there, who was the car that he was on the inside. I saw that too out of the corner of my eye, Andrew, and boy, that thing was sideways. He was able to gather it back in without losing the back end of the car or catching Sean Williams. But that was a breath taker for sure for the driver who continues to struggle in the latter portion of this run. While Bobby Cheney continues to try to fend off Femi Olot. And there's a fight for the lead going on up at the head of the pack as well as Herczeg starting to work the bottom side on Falkingham, it appears. Watching it from Femi Olot's car. Look at these 3 cars that are tying up the front of the pack. Drivers who all have the most wins in NORC competition this season. Femi Olot, of course, not too far behind with 3. But nevertheless, nice to see Zoltan Herczeg return to his natural form. We mentioned in qualifying, he has not been the traditional Zoltan that we've been accustomed to seeing throughout the last couple of weekends. It appears as though he's hit some form of a reset button, and boy, did he come to play tonight. These 3 cars appear evenly matched right now.
And you know what? I feel like this is exactly the racetrack for Zoltan to hit reset, get back at it. I mean, it's a 1.5 miles. It's a multi-groove racetrack. It's racy. Strategy matters. It feels like a Zoltan Herczeg kind of race to go up there and challenge for the race win. So it makes sense as he gets a little bit of yaw there out of turn 4, I feel like. And yeah, definitely a little bit of correction out of the corner. So these guys still having some fun. They are on the edge. This is exactly what you want out of Chicagoland Speedway and exactly what Chicagoland Speedway tends to provide. Down to the bottom side, here comes Oxendine, a new challenge of the race lead. Where did that challenge come from? Just all of a sudden decided to turn the wheel left and drive to the inside of Daniel Falkingham, and it worked.
Honestly, Andrew, this looks like a lot of fun. This makes me certainly want to go into the bank account and get myself another sim rig to try to get back into the swing of things and have some fun like this, because these guys look like they're having a blast. And I agree with you there as far as the fact that halfway in this race has kind of crept up on us a little bit surprisingly here in a handful of laps from now. And as a matter of fact, we're there. So I just cannot believe how quickly this race has gone by. Only one caution, almost had a second one there, as it looked like Oxendine got the left sides on the apron there, nearly drifted up into the corner panel of Falkingham. But this thing has been a thriller all the way since the drop of the green flag, and I expect this trend to continue as we've got some more names starting to make their way closer to the front. Will Klein 4th, Ariati 5th, Femi Olot up to 7th, and the list goes on and on.
There you see Ariati cracking the top 5. Femi Olot up into 7th, ahead of Bobby Chaney. I almost said John Barry. No, John Barry's ahead, in front of him now. Yeah, anyway. Howie Bress, you can see he's dropped down to the 9th spot, but is actually battling here with Bobby Chaney. So maybe still some life in those tires for Howie as he challenges on the inside. It looks like he'll get passed back up, but still definitely, I think, a pretty solid car. And I think this is a top 10 run at the very least in the works for Howie Bress, and I think potentially as this race goes on, especially after a green flag pit stop, potentially maybe he takes it easier on those tires. If you're like me, you looked up right up at the top of the screen at a turn 4 and you saw a colorful 25 car sideways into the corner. That's Terrell Baker, of course, right in front of Zach Lindgren and Sean Williams, getting loose at a turn 4 the last time through, now at a turn number 2, and much more collected. How about that exit? He hangs on to that spot.
I love watching these drivers race, and Zach Lindgren is someone we've highlighted a number of times on our Pit Stop TV broadcast with his impressive maturation as far as a sim racer and even real racer in some sense by some of the stories that you touched on prior, Andrew. And he's someone who is always having just such a positive approach to his sim racing duties and driving and just having an absolute blast. And those results started to come to him here towards the second half of the season. He did make the chase. 5 top 5 finishes so far this season. Currently running in a position here perhaps to get up and into the top 10. If he's able to get there and stay there, he'll be able to hold on for what will hopefully be his 14th top 10 finish. As we see Jared Darling on the pit lane, we watched that car skid back relatively quickly. Andrew, what does this do for that one car as far as pit strategy? Does that mean that he's going to have to stop at least one more time here till the end?
It's early, but I think it's within the realm of going to the end. I mean, it's going to be a really long run. You'll have to save a lot of fuel and a lot of tires, but it's possible. I think this is more so definitely a two-stop play from the last green flag, and oh my goodness, these guys, they continue to go at it. Zoltan Herzeg digging on the inside now of Falkingham, and here comes the purple 48. Will Klein now into this fight.
Since we've been watching these drivers kind of duke it out, it's understandable that maybe they're checking themselves up a little bit too much. It looks like there's some damage to the right rear Chad Oxendine's car. Not sure what happened there, whether he got some help from behind. We're double wide for the lead. Oxendine looking 3 wide on the bottom, checks back up, now double wide for 2 rows deep across the top 4 as Herzeg is working the bottom side of Falkingham. This is good stuff here coming up the complete lap number 69 with Herzeg going to the point.
This is a great battle, and it's a nice opportunity here, I'd say, for Ariati to work up to these guys, and he's liking what he's seeing out of his windshield currently. He's seeing 4 drivers going at it with basically complete abandon to anything else. They just want to go race, and they're all in very different situations, scenarios, points-wise, so it makes sense, I suppose. Obviously, Daniel Falkingham, he's won the championship already. He's clinched that. May as well go for it. Will Klein, he's deep in the chase. In fact, he's 12th coming into this race. Nothing to lose. Literally, not a thing to lose if he wrecks this car. Chad Oxendine, he's got to go fight for second in the championship. And Zoltan Herzeg has dropped himself down to 4th, so he's really got to claw at it. He has got to go for it if he wants any chance of fighting with John Barry and Chad Oxendine next week. So it makes a lot of sense that these 4 are all driving with reckless abandon right now, and they've all got to go for it if they want to win or make up points, what have you.
Will Klein, remember, started back in 17th spot and is now 1 position shy from getting up to the lead in a race that's only seen 1 caution, with everybody pretty much, minus that of Jared Darling, on the same pit strategy. This has been a monumental drive for Will Klein, perhaps a statement race, if you will, after the year has not gone as he has planned. And Ariati is getting pulled up into the frame as well, with Femi Olot running 6th, as we may have a 6-car pack here battling for the lead. This race reminds me, Andrew, of some of the old-style NASCAR races in the early 2000s, like that thrilling finish at Atlanta back in 2001. We had 5 cars under a blanket late in the going. I believe we restarted about 30 laps ago, so we're pretty late in this run for this many cars to be running this close together on a track this abrasive, and it's just making our jobs easy tonight, man.
Yeah, I mean, this race has felt like it's gone by in about 20 minutes so far. We've been live for over an hour. I mean, this is incredible stuff. Zoltan Herczeg leading, and here comes Will Klein suddenly. Out of nowhere, he's just sitting back there, saving his stuff, saving his Goodyear Eagles. He's going to go up there and fight for the lead now. Chad Oxendine, you can see, looks like he's starting to properly drop off now along with Daniel Falkingham. So maybe we're starting to see this separation that we've been waiting to see in this front group. That will bring Ariati to the conversation. You saw him side by side a lap ago with Daniel, but it's all Will Klein trying to go for the race lead, and this would be big for Will. He's admittedly just been a non-factor in the chase since making it, and since taking that 12th spot, now he wants to go for a race win. Down to the inside of Zoltan Herczeg. When do these drivers pit? They've been out there running for about 38 laps. It's got to be coming. It's coming soon. We're at, what, 50 to go? Is that right? 60 to go. So regardless, it's on the way.
And that final stop, or potential final stop, is going to be incoming here as Will Klein tries to get back to the gas here inside of Herczeg. Saw Herczeg get loose by himself out front out of 4 1 lap ago. Now these two continue to drag race their way to turn 1 with Oxendine waiting in the wings in case something happens here with these two. He's going to try to split the middle here, run in the middle of the racetrack, looking for some clear air on the nose of that car and trying to get a good run off the corner as they continue to battle side by side. Advantage Herczeg up top of the Supra, while Klein continues to try to work the inside as we watch the leaders continue to race their way here through the inside of turns 3 and 4. And there's a variable in this fight. Jared Darling is trying to race his way back up onto the lead lap. He's just to the inside of Chad Oxendine behind this side-by-side battle for the lead. He could get up there and kind of spoil this party. We're on board with him now. He's got to go. He wants to get back on the lead lap in case a caution comes out.
There's his opening down on the bottom side of the racetrack. Right to the inside of Will Klein, 3 wide now with the race leaders. Zoltan gets a run on the top side. Will backs out, lets it happen, and look at that use of Jared Darling as a pick from Zoltan Herczeg. That is how you do it. And now Will Klein has to regroup and work on that all over again. He's got to get back to the inside of Zoltan Herczeg and try and fight once more. But now he's got the opportunity, I think, to reset and try and go to the top. No, it's not going to happen. Zoltan's protecting it, and there you see the Nexus Esports driver right back down to the inside.
So the lap car, Jared Darling, who's no longer a lap car, gets through cleanly, and these two go right back in the same position they were in when Darling made it 3 wide on him. Will Klein wants to get to the race lead, and he's doing everything right on the inside. This is where things get a little bit dodgy. We've seen these cars get loose out of turn 4. Klein slides up just a little bit. Momentum favors that of Herczeg, and at the stripe, Klein got the lead for that lap, I believe, by inches, although Herczeg squirts back out in front, with Oxendine now coming back into the fold as well. Falkingham and Ariati not that far behind there. You see them on the right-hand side of your camera shot, but Will Klein is working diligently to try to make that bottom side work to get up towards the race lead, but Herczeg is just hanging with him there on the outside lane.
And Will Klein is somebody we're used to seeing with a race win at this point in the season. 2 races to go. He should have one by now. He wants to get it. He wants to go ahead and scratch that off his list and just mark that as one that he's done. He's won here before, in fact. Go back to season 9, led 31 laps en route to victory, started 11th in that one, so he's used to coming from behind here at Chicago. And out of turn 2, he's got the lead cleared. Here comes Oxendine. Oh my goodness! I'm not sure there was room, but Zoltan Herczeg made room.
Yeah, he tried to get himself down there in the middle of that sandwich as Klein is going to go clearly out in front for the first time in this race, with Oxendine now trying to work the inside lane. What could Herczeg do now that he finds himself in the runner-up spot? Coming through the tri-oval here, with Oxendine holding on to his 3rd place. Falkingham kind of settled out in 4th, and Ariati running in 5th. And I have to wonder at what point do these guys start to take it easy a little bit here and prepare for what could be their final stop of the night, which is a window that is obviously approaching. We've seen what Jared Darling's been able to do already with some fresh tires. It's going to come back and bite him at the end should things stay green, of course. But nevertheless, if you want to try to undercut some of the field, or at least this pack that's running in the top 6 or so in a league of their own, that may be your best opportunity to do it with relative ease. The question is, who's going to bite first?
I love static shots. I just want to say that real quick. I love static shots going into corners like that. You can see Chad Oxendine working on the outside. Now Zoltan Herczeg gets that door shut. This is a fantastic way to watch a race. Just static shots around the racetrack, watching what these guys are able to do into corners like that, where you see Oxendine has now worked his way to the inside and gets the spot, for the moment at least, on Zoltan Herczeg. And at this point, if you're Zoltan, do you really try and fight too hard for that spot? You've already lost the lead. Why not sit back and save your tires a little bit at this point? You're not going to lose too much time on these guys if you just let Chad go for a moment, and maybe Chad goes up there and ruffles up the feathers of the 48 car. Maybe, just maybe, as you're looking at all of the top 6 in one camera shot. Isn't that incredible?
And the one thing that I absolutely love about watching this race unfold is that there's been a lot of respect shown between these drivers, and Femi Olot has now caught the pack. Ariati, of course, has been a part of the pack for quite some time. And then these guys got about 2 seconds back to Bobby Chaney, Zach Lindgren, and company, who round out our top 10. But at this point, I don't know who has the edge so far. Femi has been relatively quiet, has been working his way up through very slowly, knows he really doesn't have to rush things just yet. Ariati, you mentioned his resume at Chicagoland is stunning with 2 victories. Falkingham, his season speaks for himself. Herczeg trying to right the ship. Oxendine's been on a roll, and Will Klein has charged through the pack and is now leading by about a half second here, with still the upcoming pit strategy looming. And these 6 all appear still to kind of be pretty evenly matched here, and I don't think everybody's showing their full hand just yet.
Can I just say, the fact that we are 50 laps into a run and we still have all 6 drivers in a group like this, and you mentioned pack at the start of your last little spiel. You mentioned a pack. We're not talking about a NASCAR Cup Series pack where they pack on 90,000 pounds of downforce and go to 200 horsepower. This is proper racing. 6 cars are just in a line, and they're moving around, ebbing and flowing. This is a pack of cars that have gotten to this point in the run, just racing. It's a pack, yes, but not the Daytona kind of pack, Talladega kind of pack. This is racing.
And I couldn't agree more. And to be able to put a show on like this, even on the platform, it requires a lot of respect amongst competitors. The fact that we've only had 1 caution and the racing has been this close, we've had the number of lead changes that we have already, we've had the level of competition that we have had with the assistance of only 1 slowing of the field. It just speaks volume to the level of talent and competitive nature of the drivers who partake in NORC on a weekly basis. I know we bring it up often, but Dover and Indianapolis are races that many would end up grimacing at the idea of having to sit back and watch a contest on those tracks because of how oftentimes they're caution fests. These guys only had 1 to 2 yellows in each of them, and I know Chicagoland doesn't have that rough and rumble look to it, but if you were to watch fragments of this race and see how close and how aggressively these guys are running, but as I said, with respect, you would think that this too was going to be a rough one, and it hasn't. It's actually turned into a pretty good bit of a barn burner since the word go. And I expect it to kind of continue throughout this last cycle. And I'm actually sitting on the edge of my seat here to try and see which one of these front 6 are going to be the ones to kind of kickstart that final round, and how much it may benefit them being on fresh tires first, and how much they may pay the price for it at the tail end of the following run.
Well, since we have so many questions, let's take a step back. These guys are in a line right now. Let's look deeper in the field. Currently, this is Cole Freilich and Sean Williams starting to do battle. This is for 13th and, 12th, actually. We have had a couple of pit stops that have left some of these guys. Sheldon Lockey, he's still on the racetrack on old tires. But one driver that I noticed pitted earlier and has not rejoined the field was actually Jared Washon. And I was ready to mention a strategy issue, or I guess an option with Jared Washon, but it seems like something has happened. The driver of the 27, so he's done for the evening, it looks like. Jared Darling's the only driver that I've seen pit since our green flag, aside from, Cody Miller, actually. He pitted 4 laps ago, so I wonder exactly what... No, I'm completely lying. I'm missing a massive elephant in the room right now, because Terrell Baker's visited the pit lane. He's out here. He's been out here for 10 laps now, and Zach Lindgren and Howie Briss just pitted. So here we go. This is where it gets started. This is where we start to learn a little bit about what the leaders might do here soon. The leaders, they've all still stayed out for over 50 laps, but Zach Lindgren coming in, that's big, along with Howie Briss.
Howie Briss is somebody who's running well up towards the front of the field there. In fact, was leading this race at one point before falling back through the running order, and now he's going to be on some of the freshest tires of the contenders we've seen so far this evening. He's going to need a little bit of a stretch, though, between the time that he exits the pit lane and when some of the front runners, i.e. the top 6, like to come down. Spencer Owens also was in the top 10 at one point in this race. He's going to bring that car down for a stop as well. So this is where we're going to start to see, is that advantage of new tires going to pay off in a major capacity here? And how long are those front 6 willing to wait to come down for a stop? It looks like Falkingham may be coming this time.
Indeed he is. Here comes Daniel Falkingham, brings Ariati along with. So the 20 and 23 coming down the pit lane. Who comes with them? It's hard to say. Looks like Bobby Chaney is on his way in. So the 20, 23, and 24 all pit here on lap 90 coming to 91. And, I mean, these are some big drops in the bucket as far as the strategy goes.
Yeah, but somebody like Bobby Chaney, we talked about how well he qualified this weekend, or I should say this night. Second week in a row, we saw him with a great qualifying effort. Tonight, though, he's been running in about the top 10 all night long. So I think for Chaney to come down with Falkingham, I would follow the NORC champion, too, if I was in this field as well. He's done everything else right this season. Might as well follow in the shadow for a night like tonight. I think that might be a good move for him. Maybe I would propel him up closer towards the top 5, if you will, when all's said and done. But these are some of the cars that have stayed out. Klein, Oxendine, Herczeg you're on board with, Femi Olot, and John Berry, your top 5 right now. And Andrew, if I'm Berry, as it looks like Herczeg's coming in this time, if I'm Berry, do you stick to your guns as far as following what Oxendine is doing, or are you going to go off kilt? And I think this is our answer right here, but he missed the pit lane maybe.
Oh my goodness, he's just been right in front of Pancari, barely misses the 74. Disaster for John Berry trying to come down the pit lane. Worst case scenario right now for Evan. You can see he's going to still make it down the pit lane. That's going to be a penalty. Don't know if that'll be waived given the circumstances or not. I feel like the penalty has already been served in the spin. But, yeah, that's a problem there for John Berry. So he's going to come in and get service, and that car immediately up on jack. So no penalty as of yet. There may still be one enforced. A lot of drivers in the pit lane along with, and here comes everybody else aside. Well, no, everybody else. Chad Oxendine, Will Klein, Femi Olot. Everybody's coming down the pit lane, and fast laps are beginning to get turned. Sheldon Lockie, oh my goodness, Sheldon Lockie's in the same thing as John Berry.
I would have thought that Chicagoland had one of the toughest pit lanes to get on here. We've seen a couple of instances tonight where guys have looped it. I don't recall seeing something like this happen at even Darlington, which is known to have one of the toughest pit lanes to get on and off of. And tonight, Chicagoland has been throwing these guys for a loop, including one of our contenders for the runner-up position in the points. We talked about Jared Darling pitting and driving his way back onto the lead lap. How much does fresh tires mean? How about a lead in excess of 10 seconds? But Andrew, pretty much everybody else behind them, specifically that third on back, they just pitted now. They're going to be the ones trying to chomp away at that deficit here now that things have gotten back underway. But how about TCB? He also pitted a bit earlier than the rest, not quite as early as that of Jared Darling. He's got a couple of seconds over Falkingham and company right now.
There's a lot of pictures to try and paint here. We'll try and do our best. Jared Darling, he comes in. He's got, well, I mean, he came in way early. He's dedicated to a two-stop strategy at this point. He's got 10 seconds to this guy on your screen, TCB. Falkingham is an extra second and a half behind now and closing fast. There's a difference of 13 laps in their pit strategies. But then Zach Lindgren pitted 2 laps early, and you can see the difference it's made. He's only a second or so behind Daniel Falkingham and is about to watch this battle. I mean, it doesn't look like TCB is standing still, but he's only 2 laps ahead. The tires will fall off maybe a little bit sooner for Zach Lindgren, but look at the ground he's made up. That's what I was getting ready to talk about. We were looking at a difference of 1.8 seconds just about from fastest laps to what they were running at the time that they pitted. So that's almost 2 seconds a lap, Eric. Even if you want to go with a second and a half, that's a lot of time to suddenly make up once you put new tires on. Zach goes on by TCB. He'll get the 3rd spot. That's what the undercut will mean here. The problem that I see for some of these drivers undercutting, and this might be one of the first places where an overcut is best, we've seen the difference it has made on newer tires than older tires, at least better tires in a long run. New tires, good tires, they mean something here. Yes, I feel like the undercut obviously is the short-term gain, and if we get a yellow here, it's massive for guys like Zach Lindgren and even TCB, but over the course of the run, we might see Zoltan Herczak, Helly Briss drive right back up in front of Zach Lindgren and potentially up to Daniel Falkingham. They went a lap longer. That lap might be the difference. We'll have to wait and see. Only time will tell. I feel like maybe we beat that up a little bit too much, but there's just only so much we can do without seeing it unfold.
And one of the things that I was able to keep my eye on there while describing that scenario, we saw John Berry have that spin. He's Berry now 17th in the running order, and he's not being able to have an opportunity right now to work his way up through the pack just yet. As a matter of fact, we cut back here and watch Berry. He's got Patrick Colby kind of all over him here, does that of Berry, and that's Colby trying to challenge John for position after he was doing everything he needed to do. He was keeping himself in a contention. Colby coming right up the outside here as Berry's got his hands full. Probably driving a little bit angry right now, and I would too, having a situation like that. And I think in terms of, hoping for a yellow, there may not be anybody in the field wishing for one more than that guy, because that would be the only chance perhaps to get his race back on track here as we're coming up now at 34 to go, and TCB back in the pit lane.
And I would expect Jared Darling in and around the same amount of time. He's been out there for 33 laps. This feels like the exact point where Jared would go ahead and come in here in a couple of laps to break things up evenly from the time that he pitted. So expect the one car in soon. Looks like maybe not that lap, but definitely soon. He may also try and wait on a yellow, wait until he gets past, because he could hang on to this race lead. So a couple of different options there for Jared. And of course, if he waits a little bit longer, he then has better tires at the end. So if for some reason he needs those tires at the end, that would help. Zach Lindgren, he's under fire. Here comes Will Klein, goes right on by the 85 car. So big move there for Will to get that spot back up into the top three now. Something I want to harken on is, I want to say it's this one. Yes. The top 5 in points are also the top 5 in average finish and top 5 in, top 5s this season. When you look at the spread of drivers, Eric, throughout the course of the season that have made up this top 5, have rung in the best average finish, that have made the most top 5s, it's very, very common. It's these 5 drivers, Falkingham, Herczak, Berry, Oxendine, and almost in the exact same order as the points. Negate the chase, I guarantee you we would have about this order, maybe a change between Schutt and Oxendine, but now Schutt isn't here this evening, so obviously that would change things. It's incredible to me that the same cream is rising to the top almost all the time. Now, I want to bring this up at this specific moment because John Berry suddenly is well down in the running order, uncharacteristically so, and that's going to ruin that a lot.
It certainly is going to negatively impact this statistic here. And also, I got to say, I absolutely love our stat department here at Pit Stop TV. I know that it's pretty much a one-man band, being you, Andrew Cardinale IV, and some of the work and research you do on the NORC races and our broadcast and production is out of the park. I mean, these are metrics and numbers that you would see on a cup telecast that you're able to pull together for us in order to kind of shine a spotlight on the competitive nature and the landscape of this series. And that's it. I mean, that pretty much hits the nail on the head as far as why the standings are the way they are. And, I mean, you take into consideration the fact that some of these drivers like that of a Falkingham did not have the best of results on the super speedways, the Talladega Duels, Legacy Daytona, of course, the Coca-Cola event that was held I shouldn't say Coca-Cola, the iRacing Super Speedway. I'm going back to the NR 2003 days. I'd better not get a cease and desist letter from anybody. But nevertheless, that is something that was kind of never on the same side as a Falkingham. So you wonder what the numbers would be if you would have removed those bit of wild card races. But at the same token, we thought Bristol Dirt would be a wild card event for him, and he went out and won the thing. So just remarkable set of circumstances and statistics that these drivers have been able to put together. And you're right, it kind of depicts the reason why the championship picture was unfolding the way it is we still got more drivers trying to move their way on up to the pack.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it just kind of pops up every once in a while. It's something that is kind of rare to think about, but yeah, I mean, it's just incredible the way that things have worked out, and you can see the gaps in those average finishes as well. And I know Zoltan's has dropped very recently as here comes the pass lead that we knew was going to happen with Falkingham going right on by Jared Darling. Just a difference of pit strategy there for those two drivers. But look at the big gap right now from Daniel Falkingham to Zoltan Herczak. I mean, it's almost 3 positions if you round. And then, of course, John Berry, Chad Oxendine, David Schutt, they would all round down to 9th. It's incredible. where these drivers have averaged, and there's other drivers that aren't very far behind, such as Zach Lindgren. He checks in at, I think, 11th. Jared Darling right there with him. So a couple of drivers have just really excelled this season, and those are the drivers that are fighting for a championship or positions at least close to a championship. As far as strategy goes this evening, well, we talked about Zach Lindgren maybe getting caught out here by the drivers that performed a bit of an overcut. And here we go. He's dropped down now to 7th spot. So the undercut could have worked if he got a yellow, but he didn't get a yellow.
Yeah, we're also starting to see a little bit of a shift as far as the front runners. I think Will Klein may be a little bit faster than that of Falkingham at this point in the run. And I agree with you, though, Andrew. I would think that perhaps Jared Darling may want to pit as we got a fight for the lead starting to size up here. Here comes Will Klein. Could tonight be the night that he is able to find victory lane? He goes by our NORC champion with ease on the backstretch. Will Klein to the point.
Big pass there from Will Klein, takes the lead away for the moment, and I'd imagine for the near future, and we're down inside of 30 laps to go. It's going to be really hard for Daniel Falkingham to have anything to say about that as well. I don't know that he has anything to say. I'm just going to be honest. I don't know if there's anything he can do about it. The 48 has been way too good, and on that previous run coming up to the pits, I mean, he showed how good he was. He drove up to and by everybody by the time we pitted, so it's incredible what Will Klein is doing this evening, and this is another race that I think, I guess, the driver that this race fits in the wheelhouse thereof. It's a driver's track. It's a track that has multi-groove racing. You've got to make the most out of your tires, save your stuff over the course of a run. And if you know anything about Will Klein, yes, he's Will Klein at the line for a reason for those plate wins, but this is the kind of race where Will Klein would win. He is be it an A Open or a B Open or a C Open, and those pertaining to license classes, and therefore the series that you can run on iRacing, A being Cup, B being Xfinity, C being Truck. Any of those in open setups or even fixed setups, I mean, he excels in official racing is what I'm getting at. And he goes out there and he makes Road to Pro runs, which is trying to get up into the Pro Series, and then have a chance at the NASCAR iRacing Coca-Cola Series that we see Femi Olot go and run in on Tuesday nights. This is the kind of place where Will Klein makes sense to go and dominate. May not have dominated earlier, started 17th, but is working his way through, and now is dominating, I would dare say.
Granted, I know that we hyped up this entire race, and we still got a good bit to go here as far as it being a bit of a thriller from start to finish. And that pit strategy did kind of separate that top 6 that all seem to be pretty evenly matched here. But I don't think we're done yet with the comers and goers portion of our program. Granted, Will Klein's been able to open up about a 6/10 of a second lead, trying to navigate his way around the lap car. Sheldon Lockheed, one of 2 cars that we saw have problems getting on the pit lane in the most recent round of pit stops with some more lap traffic ahead. But Falkingham staying right there with him, about that 6/7 of a second gap. Herzeg, Oxendine, Ariati, your top 5. Femi Olot was one of the cars that came on strong at the end of the run the last time through, and he's starting to pressure Ariati for that spot in the top 5 for now. But as the checkered flag is starting to inch closer here, I'm not quite sure that we're exactly done with the surprises here. And boy, what a wrench we would throw into the mix should we have a yellow flag for whatever reason, because I'm pretty sure that would level the playing field here as Olot dives underneath Ariati in this race for 5th off 2.
And tires haven't been a massive conversation yet this season. They won't be a conversation yet this evening either. We have 4 sets in the pits. It's 5 sets total. These drivers have pitted twice, and in some cases 3 times. They've got plenty of tires if we do get a yellow. That's a yellow. If we get a slew of yellows here, maybe not. Trying to keep up on tire strategy, maybe not. If we do get multiple yellows, but that requires in the next 20 laps getting 2 or 3 and spacing them out apart to where there's enough time to warrant pitting for tires. So I think we're good. I don't think we're going to have any tire issues as Chad Oxendine goes to work now on the 96 of Zoltan Herzeg. You just saw Femi Olot go on by Ariati, and here we go for 3rd.
And with the problems for John Berry tonight on the pit lane and being outside the top 10, for Chad Oxendine, this is just what the doctor ordered. And right now, he might be a tick quicker than that of a Falkingham, but they've lost some ground to Daniel these last few laps. So getting there is going to be a bit of a challenge here to try to have a shot at that runner-up finish. But take a look at the stats for tonight. Only 1 caution for 4 laps. That was the crash off turn 2 involving Hayes Booth about 30-something laps in. And 9 lead changes, and some of which came in side-by-side battles, a couple of laps at a time, in some of the most thrilling racing we saw in the first half of this event. We also saw a couple of cars get up into the wall, one of it being that of Cole Freilich. But a couple of these drivers have done a great job hanging on what appears to have been a bit of a difficult night at times, but certainly fun. I think everybody who was able to have some wheel-to-wheel racing has been having a good time tonight, but perhaps none other and none more than that of Will Klein, who is out in front.
Yeah, Will Klein off in a way. He's almost built up a second gap back to Daniel Falkingham. I don't see a way without a yellow that Daniel Falkingham gets back up there. Daniel's so good, and this is actually a topic of conversation in a Facebook chat earlier on today, where we were just talking about how good Daniel Falkingham has been this season. He's just been good. Will Klein actually chimed in on that, and I'd say those two drivers at this point fit right together, almost like puzzle pieces as far as skill right now in iRacing. And if you look over to iRating, actually, I guess, well, you can kind of compare these guys. Let's try and give that a shot. I guess it's not going to, but regardless, they are very, very close. And they both go out and they run a lot of official races, they run a lot of leagues, and they pride themselves in what they can do in those races. Will has just had a kind of an off year, maybe taking a bit more of a break from some of those than, if you want to call it try-harding, maybe a little bit of a break from try-harding a little bit on iRacing, whereas Daniel Falkingham has had one of the best years of his iRacing career, obviously as well in NORC. Even Will Klein was able to sit down and just acknowledge what Daniel Falkingham has done this season, but I don't think that's going to help him right now. Will Klein has found what's working and is taking off, and the gap continues to grow. It's up to 1.2 seconds thereabouts, and the 48 is still digging. He's still digging. He's still digging. Hold on, let's see. At a turn 2, Eric, what do we think? Yeah, he's still digging.
And I'm pretty sure he's going to continue digging unless somebody tells him to stop, and the only thing that will tell him to stop would be that of a yellow flag. And right now, really not seeing the gap from Oxendine and Falkingham kind of come down more than the 1.1 seconds that is separating them. We do see Chad, though, off into the distance with the lap car Sheldon Lockey in between them. But Chad may be starting to get to that point in the run, which we've seen pretty much all night long. The longer that we get under the belt of that car, the faster he becomes. So this may play right into his hands as far as getting up to and maybe battling with that 20 car late in the race for the second week in a row. Unfortunately for both of them, it's not going to be for the victory if Will Klein keeps this up and this race stays green. Herczeg also trying to follow Oxendine up to the number 20. Here's one of the best runs of the season for Bobby Chaney. Love the look of this car, paying homage to the vehicle that Jimmy Spencer ran in the late 90s. Currently holding off Zach Lindgren and closing in, as a matter of fact, on Ariati. So what a night it's been so far for Bobby Chaney, who's doing everything right. After not getting the results he was hoping for at Phoenix, it's been a great night for this driver, looking for what would be his 4th top 10 of the season if he can hang on.
And this would be big. This would be one spot out of a top 5 for Bobby, and I could see him potentially driving up there, and I don't know if it's going to happen without a bit of influence. Maybe it would take a yellow to get that top 5, but he's in a position where he can capitalize on whatever may come his way. There we go. So Bobby Chaney, just as you said right there, best run of the season almost. It is a solid run so far for him, and I cannot wait to see what he can do the rest of this race. I'm noticing a battle that we looked at a few moments ago starting to get a little bit closer, and these two were just side by side. I'm not sure what split them up, but Cole Freilich is really working on the 89 of Sean Williams, and Sean, I don't think he scraped the wall into one right there. I think that was just a bit of a graphical thing, but Cole is there. This is a battle for 11th on the racetrack, but it's the closest one on the racetrack currently.
And this kind of makes us look a little bit silly after talking about the fact that close race that we saw past the halfway break, we thought it was going to continue all the way to the end, and this is the best race we got right now for 11th spot. Nevertheless, though, still a great race through and through as we inch closer to 10 laps to go, and Freilich on a bit of a comeback trail after we saw him rocket to the front. Apparently burned his stuff off a little bit too soon in the run. Had to pay the price. He washes up the racetrack here. We talked about the potential of seeing a yellow. This may be one of those opportunities as Freilich gets real loose out of 2. Williams hangs tough on the outside, and Freilich has to kind of concede for the moment, regroup, and try again.
And how about that brand new Apex Action Photography number 15 Supra? He's going around me. Oh my goodness. I don't know where that came from. It was sudden snap oversteer for the driver of the 15 out of Kentucky. Glad he hung on to it, but wow, that was sideways there for Cole Freilich. Let's hope he can hang on to it for about 11 more laps as he crosses the line to take 11 to go for himself. Meanwhile, Will Klein at a turn number 4 will come around and take 10 to go. And I lined up another stat graphic. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't recall exactly what it's about, Eric. What do you say we surprise ourselves?
I'm always up for a surprise, so let's see what we got here. Three-way tie for fourth in the all-time win list at 13 wins. Freddie De La Rosa, Zoltan Herczeg, and Daniel Falkingham. Two of those drivers were trying to break that tie with De La Rosa not being in the field tonight. However, for Falkingham to have to do that and notch himself a 14th win, keep in mind 9 of those 13 so far, as you see on the bottom portion of your screen, have come this season. Of course, Zoltan Herczeg added 4 in 2021, and De La Rosa, by virtue of his win at Texas, added a victory to his win column as well. We thought maybe tonight would be the night as Herczeg's up in the wall in turns 1 and 2, it looks like. Maybe we're not done seeing drivers overstep their boundaries and bring out a yellow late in the going here. Herczeg up in the fence that time.
And Zoltan just lost a spot to Femi Olot. He's down into 5th, and if we look at where he pitted a lap earlier than Femi Olot and Chad Oxendine. So again, that lap may be a big difference as this race runs down. He's starting to lose some time now to Ariati, and I gotta wonder, what if win 13 is just bad luck for these guys? It's not been bad luck for Bobby Zelensky, Femi Olot, and I gotta think, who else is up there with them? Ben Nelson, maybe? No, these guys, I don't know. Regardless, the point being, what if win 13 is the bad luck win, potentially, for Zoltan Herczeg and Daniel Falkingham? Daniel Falkingham was so close last week at Phoenix, and Chad Oxendine goes to victory lane now. Zoltan Herczeg, since getting that 13th win much earlier in the season, winless for quite a while. In fact, winless all the way back to Daytona. It's been 5-6 races. Maybe not a long time for most guys, but for Zoltan Herczeg, that is a long time.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point that you bring up there. Perhaps maybe that's the roadblock portion of the all-time wins list there at that number 13, because that would make a little bit of sense here as far as Daniel hitting the snag, Herczeg having hit the snag. Maybe that's why he's been so frustrated the last few weeks, and unfortunately here late in the going, he's doing everything he can to try to hang on to a top 10 spot for right now, as he's got Zach Lindgren, Bobby Chaney, and more starting to breathe down his neck. Don't think Howie Briss or Spencer Owens going to get there in these final 5 laps, but Herczeg is definitely hanging on, and he's up in the wall again.
That almost looked eerily similar to Darlington, didn't it? Where he would get into the wall there in turns 1 and 2. I don't think that was intentional, though. That looked like he just overstepped into 1 rather. And iRacing has recently worked on wall proximity. I've talked about it a couple of times so far this season, where you're able to get up there and kind of hold a cushion of air between the car and the wall. It's not entirely perfect. Let's just be honest. iRacing's done a great job with it. It's certainly much better than it was a year ago or 2 years ago, but there's still tweaking to do, I think. And I got to wonder if it was Noah Gragson or Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, somebody like that in a real car up against the wall here at Chicago. I think they would have just a little bit more luck holding the car against the wall. And of course, hey, maybe that's just the difference in being a driver. So maybe I'm completely wrong in that. Maybe it is perfect, but I feel like maybe he's counting on the wall, the air giving back a little bit, and once he gets up there, maybe within a foot, it's just not working for him.
At that time, was trying to high line in 3 and 4, trying to see what he could do to try to stop the slide. Howie Briss 3 seconds behind right now, as Herczeg continues to put on a bit of a display of unique driving through 1 and 2. That time kept it off the wall. So it appears as though he's doing a little bit of practice here for what may benefit him down the road, while Ariati holds down the final spot in the top 5 for the time being, coming up on the back of Sheldon Lockie, while Zach Lindgren is doing all that he can to crack the top 5 late as the laps continue to click off. Will Klein out in front. This is the best battle for right now for the 5th position, with Adi holding it down.
3 laps to go. I just want to point out quickly, it's the greatest message I've ever seen somebody put on their dash next to Zach's name there. Just hi. I like that, and hopefully that's inspiring him to go up there and move a position higher and get the 5th spot here from Ariati. It's going to be a pretty good battle at the line for the top 5. 2 laps to go this time. Popsicle sticks for Will Klein, and suddenly we didn't exactly know that he was going to come and race this evening, but I'm glad he did, because he is just 3 miles, in fact less than 3 miles, 2.5, 2 miles, I don't know, from getting his first win of 2021 in the NORC iRacing Series. It's been so long since Will has gone to victory lane. A position change here. Zach Lindgren on the inside of Ariati. He wants that 5th spot.
That fight's going to continue with Sheldon Lockheed, the lap car, watching it all unfold. And all that Will Klein wants to do is get to the line for the white flag, and he will hit it. White flag is out, presented by Tucson Sound Art. Will Klein is one lap away from perfecting his charge from 17th on the grid, Andrew. What a night it has been for the driver who we thought would be a championship threat. Unfortunately, he hasn't been in the picture, but tonight he's going to try to help end his season towards a high note in these final few races.
Into turns 3 and 4 for the final time. The purple 48 is going to exit turn 4 at Chicagoland for the final time. And the Nexus Esports driver, Will Klein, at the line, has won in 2021. It took until race 24, but he's got it. At Chicagoland, Will Klein, your race winner.
And as Klein comes to the checkered flag, behind him, Daniel Falkingham, your 2021 NORC Season 13 champion. He comes home in second, and Chad Oxendine, in that very entertaining race for second place in the championship standings, was able to lead a number of laps tonight and come home with a solid third place finish.
And the season is going to end on a high note regardless for Daniel Falkingham. Sure, the championship, yes, but he wants to go and get wins. I think at the end of the day, he's still got to be pretty darn happy with a second place 2 weeks in a row now, and he's still got a chance to go make it 10 on the season next week and break that four-way tie we were just talking about. Or sorry, three-way tie for fourth place in the all-time win list here in NORC. So still, a lot of work to be done, I'd say, for Daniel, but a lot of work has already been done, and he is your champion. We confirmed that earlier this evening. Now it's much more official. All he had to do was finish 23rd. 22 cars showed up. Regardless of the pole, he had it locked up. Daniel Falkingham is your 2021 Season 13 NORC iRacing Series champion, and he's doing burnouts of Chicago.
And what a year it's been for Falkingham. Tonight notched his 7th pole of the season by virtue of his runner-up finish. That's his 16th top 5 finish. As Emerson Arden pointed out to us, led every lap on the 2 road course races of the year, and all that coincides with his 9 wins. I know how motivated he is to try to get win number 10. He's come up 1 spot short in back-to-back weeks, but nevertheless, you could tell by his burnout display that he is ecstatic to be able to go into the season finale at Las Vegas with absolutely nothing to worry about at all except notching win number 10. And for Falkingham and all the things that have gone on for him, as we see a couple of drivers having a good time celebrating their finish there, and Spencer Owens and Sean Williams. But, you know, remember, Andrew, this was a very tough year for Daniel Falkingham off the racetrack, suffered the sudden loss of his father early in the season, backed it up with a spectacular and emotional win. I know this is something that this young man and this very, very impressive and competitive sim racing driver can be proud of for a very, very long time. He joins an illustrious list of NORC champions as our Season 13 victor.
Yeah, that's something we haven't talked about much of this season, but we highlighted it at Road Atlanta. We found out the news literally, what was it, that day or what have you, losing his father, backing it up with a win. I don't know how, I mean, it's not necessarily going to fix anything, obviously, but in the circumstances, that's got to be pretty good medicine, at least for the moment, and it's got to feel a little bit better to go and get that win, and to now work through the rest of the season knowing that Pops is up there watching down on him and able to watch him go and get a championship in this series that is oh so high esteemed. That's got to be all the better. So it's just been Daniel Falkingham's season. We've been saying it for a long time here, Eric. This is the season of Daniel Falkingham. It's just been that way since, I think, race 4 or 5. Ever since he got, I think, the second win, maybe the third win, we just knew out of the gate this 20 car had what it took to win a championship. It was a matter of execution down the rest of the line. 9 wins. He's got a championship. He's going to go for 10 next week at Las Vegas. Meanwhile, we're going to take a step aside. Don't go anywhere. Post-race coverage on the way from the Chicagoland Speedway. Race 24 of 25 is now in the books here in Season 13. And we've got a few drivers to talk to. Don't go anywhere. Don't change that dial. Don't move a thing. Maybe get some popcorn, a new refreshment, whatever you do. But don't go anywhere. Post-race coverage on the way.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Welcome back. The virtual Chicagoland Speedway and the site of a championship. It's not the final race on the season. That's what's so impressive about it. Even before the green flag this evening, with 2 races left, Daniel Falkingham had wrapped up a championship here in the NORC iRacing Series. It's rare to do even with 1 race, let alone 2 races to go. And it's rare to do races in advance in the NORC iRacing Series at all, especially with the chase format. So I just want to get a hats off, congratulations, maybe some applause potentially from all of you watching it. Let's just acknowledge the feat that Daniel Falkingham has accomplished this season. But with that out of the way, let's also speak with our winner this evening, Will Klein, notching his first win on the season. And Will, it's been a bit of an interesting season. Haven't made every single race, more of a part-time schedule. Still made the chase though. So even with a few races down, maybe a few races didn't go your way, a really strong season overall, and finally, you get that one in the win column this evening.
Yeah, finally, man. I was like praying to the gods that nothing would go wrong there. So I'm, good night overall.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier on that never before, I don't think we've seen Will Klein wait until this long in the season to get a win. Usually it comes much earlier, and yes, you're Will Klein at the line.
Well,
Happens
whenever Dega happens, so
right, yeah, your Will Klein's a line. It happens at plate tracks, but you also are quite good at places like Chicagoland. In fact, you've won here before. This feels like a Will Klein kind of racetrack. Am I right there?
Yes, I'd love a mile and a half, especially when the setup, is a little bit on the free to, push loose. When you're getting a little sideways, at least it's, good to drive.
And you know what? That's a great question that I was going to ask. How did the car handle overall? Because we saw some guys getting a little bit free early, and they suddenly had to drive off the right front later on. We saw guys that were tight early. So it seemed like maybe the driver made the difference. Is that correct?
Yeah, it all depended on how much throttle input you wanted to use and how patient you were going to be coming off the corner. If you were mad in it, you were definitely going to burn off that right rear, and you'd have a little more even split. But, the beginning of the run was really important because, you had all the grip there. Maybe some people didn't suspect that it would get that free or wear the right rear out that much. So, It's to each their own on whether they're going to go on the short run or not.
Now, Will, the other thing I want to harken on real quick, and we talked about this earlier on Facebook, about how good Daniel has been, and you mentioned even your acknowledgement of the season that he's had, and just, I think, the 2021 year that he's had so far. He's good right now, maybe the best that he's ever been on iRacing. How does that go for a driver running all these official races that you guys in particular run, and put in the effort that you guys put in? How does that go as a driver? Do you have ebbs and flows, seasons where you're good? Does it depend on the iRacing build sometimes? How does that work from a driver standpoint?
Most of the people, it depends on how much you race. And honestly, I'll say for Daniel and I, we're not really doing a lot of official because, I don't know, just our opinions about it, either the people or, you know, the way the racing goes. But Daniel, I know, he does a lot of league races, so he's in very good iRacing shape, as I like to call it, because he's always driving, he's always, you know, prepared, and, you know, he had a really good season, and, you know, he really deserved the championship.
Well, there you go. iRacing shape. Add that term to the bank here, Eric. It's a win for Will Klein. Buddy, who do you have to thank? Who do you want to shout out this evening?
Obviously, John for putting on the league, you guys for broadcasting, everybody watching, and Elijah for letting us use his TeamSpeak tonight. So, yep, that'll do it tonight.
Fair enough. Will Klein gets it done at Chicagoland. Buddy, go get him next week.
All right, thank you.
Las Vegas stands ahead for Will Klein. I feel like that's also a racetrack where we can easily see the 48 go to victory lane. We'll hand things down now, of course, to Eric Brennan with our champion, Daniel Falkingham.
I think we've talked to this guy pretty much every single week, it seems, and tonight we get to talk to him for the first time post-race as our 2021 Season 13 NORC champion. And Daniel, I know you were incredibly dejected after finishing in this very spot, second place at the end of the event last week at Phoenix. I'm curious, though, now that the championship's under your belt, are you just as disappointed, perhaps, that you came up one spot shy of win number 10, or is this totally different because you get to finally go to bed at night knowing you're a NORC titleist?
Yeah, it's so good to be able to, I guess we'll officially call myself champion after next week, but, I mean, there's still a disappointment because the first two runs of the race, I really couldn't figure out how to keep the tires on it. The first run, I tried something that didn't work. Second run, I tried something that didn't work, and then the final run to the checker where I did the short pit and everything, I finally figured out what I was doing wrong, but unfortunately, it was too late, So, I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of disappointment there. But, I mean, it's all right. We still finished second. It's always better than what it could have been. I mean, we were running like 4th, 5th there before the pit stop, and we made a net gain there with 2 spots or something like that. So, I'd say overall I'm satisfied with that result. But, I mean, hey, still want to try to win every race. But, so unfortunately, we're going to see if we can go get that 10th one next week. But even if we don't, then I'll be satisfied.
I think Indianapolis kind of proved to all of us that we can never count you out in any terms of pit strategy. Was there ever a moment, perhaps, when you were leading there kind of late that you thought you'd hit the nail on the head again? Or did you kind of feel like you were a sitting duck with Will seemingly starting to close pretty quick on you?
Yeah, I knew for sure I was a sitting duck. I was kind of banking on another yellow, that lucky yellow like I got last week, hoping to stack us all up and I get the lead. Or maybe a caution in like the final few laps there. Maybe I could beat Will off pit road because I gained a spot off pit road on that only caution we had, so I was hoping I could do it again, but never got the chance. So, yeah, but I was just trying something different, try to get back, or try to reset, get fresh tires, and then try to save them a bit better, and I think I did a good job of that. And we were able to hold on a second. I mean, I wasn't going to hold off Will unless he had like an absolute terrible pit stop, which he got off on and off pit road really well. So, yeah. Just, I tried the outside once to see if I could hold him off because I knew he was coming so fast, so I tried to fend him off on the outside that one lap, and then I just immediately plowed, so I knew that was the book closed right there. So, but we gave it everything we got, but it's all right.
You're able to notch another pole under your belt here tonight, another top 5, obviously another top 10 that comes with it as well, and I know you're still looking for that 10th win. We go to Vegas next week, which you kind of alluded to that you'll officially take the championship title, I guess, after that race. So we'll wait till then to firmly reflect on your season and pretty much how dominant you've been. But you say you want to win every race, so you got one more left on the docket here for 2021. And Vegas does carry some similarities to Chicagoland. Not as weathered down, of course. We may not see the same style of racing, but your level of confidence going into that season finale, you think you can end this championship run on the absolute high note?
We're going to give it our best shot. I feel like depends on what weather we have next week. If it's like down during the nighttime, then I feel like passing is going to be extremely difficult just because the track is so gripped up. Unlike tonight, like we had actual multiple lanes to race, but I feel like next week you're not going to have that. So depending on what weather we have, we'll either have a really good racing or we may just have single file, but I could be wrong. So, yeah, we're gonna. I mean, I'm just want to get that 10th win to see what Andrew has planned for his graphic, honestly. So, I mean, heck, we're gonna give it our best shot. But even if we don't do it, 9 wins in this season with these kind of people racing. I mean, it still blows my mind how much I've been able to do this year. So, we'll give it one more shot. If we do it, we do it. If we don't, we don't.
Not to be biased, but I'm absolutely pulling for the same thing because in some of our pre-production meetings, he was not sure what in the world he was going to do if you won 10 or more of these things. So I'm kind of excited for that. Daniel, before we let you go, bud, who do you have to thank for not only the championship winning or clinching run, we'll call it, but also the runner-up finish here tonight, bud?
Yeah, absolutely. Got to thank First Rate Bait Lobster 07, my personal sponsors, for all they do. Also got to thank you guys for being on the broadcast. You guys kill it every single week. I don't say it enough. But you guys literally are amazing every single week with you and all the social media stuff. So thank you guys for all you've done all season. Hopefully you guys can cap off one more amazing broadcast next week. I gotta thank everyone who comes out and races each and every week. Gotta thank John Barry for doing everything he does for the league. Definitely feels honored to. Well, I'm not officially crowned champion yet, but he'll definitely be honored to make that official next week. So thanks for all he does. Also gotta thank all my friends and family for watching as well, and thanks to all the fans who support us each and every week.
Thank you, Daniel. Absolutely incredible job. And no matter the outcome next week at Vegas, we want you to stick around and talk to you. We want to reflect a little bit more on this season. That's going to go down as one of the most impressive that I can recall in NORC history. And I want to wish you the best of luck in the season finale next week, Daniel. Hopefully we're talking to you for more than one reason next week.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Eric. Also, congrats to Will on the win, and congrats to Chad on the podium as well.
Great job by everybody, and especially you, my friend. As we said, we'll consider it unofficial till the finale, but we believe that our Season 13 NORC champion, by all of our math, there's no possible way that it could be ripped from me, even if you don't even show up next week. Daniel Falkingham, runner-up tonight here in Chicagoland. We'll talk to you next week, Daniel.
All right, thanks, Eric.
And again, that is Daniel Falkingham. Yet another top 2 finish on the season. Someone who was trying to go back-to-back tonight by virtue of grabbing yet another win at Phoenix last week. Came up 2 spots shy, but more importantly, bettered his chances at a runner-up finish in the championship standings. We're talking about Chad Oxendine standing alongside with Andrew Cardinale IV now.
And the 66 car was almost, I would say almost on rails this evening. Maybe not quite as good as last week at Phoenix, but Chad was still darn good. 36 laps led, I think for a while held the title of the most laps led this evening. Buddy, quick to the lead. After that first yellow, maybe a couple of missteps. Couldn't quite get back to that top spot, but still good all night long. How did things go from your point of view?
Yeah, it was a pretty good race. I mean, I had a lot of fun tonight racing with them guys. But yeah, it kind of got away from us after that yellow. Once Daniel got in front of me, I decided to kind of save tires, so we dropped back a few spots, and we ended up getting around Howie and Jared or whoever it was there again, Zoltan. But yeah, I think Will was back there kind of, saving his stuff and got around us there and came out behind him after that green flag stop and just could never make up that time. I think we were all so even. It would have been real interesting if we got a yellow there at the end. I think we all would have been on top of each other. Probably would have been a real exciting finish. But congrats to Will. That was a good race.
It was a really good race. What's it like as a driver? 6 cars all together in a pack, but not the Daytona kind of pack. The pack where you guys are all slipping and sliding around 30, 40, 50 laps into a run. Almost no grip out there, hanging on for your life. What is that like?
It's an absolute blast. I miss it on the sim and the A car and everything. That's the only car you can really do that in anymore. It was a lot of fun. I mean, you could run a couple different lines, and 1 and 2, 3 and 4. Kind of had like 2 lanes, but yeah, it was just a lot of fun, Andrew. I mean, I don't know how else to tell you. It was a lot of fun and racing with guys that are all pretty fast. So it was a good time out there tonight.
Well, it was a lot of fun to watch, and let's be honest, the points battle, it's been going a lot of different ways. It's been hard to keep track of, but what we can tell you is you came into this evening 1 point Just 1 point ahead of John Barry, somebody who's put himself in the podium a lot over the course of NORC's history. It's looking a lot like you guys are going to reverse championship positions from last season, where he took second in the title by just 2 points over you in the 1987 cars. Now you've got the edge on him. He finishes well down in the order. What's the game plan next week at Las Vegas to make sure that you hang on to second?
Well, unfortunately, Andrew, I won't be here next week, so it's an early Christmas gift for John, I guess, if you want to say that way. I will actually be out in Las Vegas, the real Las Vegas, myself. So going to the race next Sunday and out there with some friends. So, yeah, unfortunately, I'll be missing next week. So congrats to Daniel on winning, John if he gets second, and whoever else. Who knows where I'll fall, but that's okay. I wanted to end it on a good note. We didn't quite get the win tonight, but it was a fun race, and we were as quick as anybody, I felt. So it was, can't complain there.
Well, Chad, it was a darn good season regardless, buddy. I don't think there's too many other ways to put it. A really, really good season. Should be finishing second. We'll see where you fall to after next week. But, hey, enjoy Las Vegas. Enjoy the weekend. It's going to be a fun one. Hopefully not too hot. Hopefully not too hot still. But,
right.
Yeah, enjoy it. Make sure to hydrate and have some fun. Before we get out of here this evening, who do you want to thank? Who do you want to shout out for, I guess, last time that we'll talk to you this season?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you to John Barry for letting me race in his league. I had a lot of fun this year racing these guys. Thank you guys for the great broadcast week in, week out. It was a pleasure to talk to you guys all the time. You, Eric, Emerson, whoever else was up in the booth throughout the season. Thank you, all my family, friends out there that watch every week. Matt Orzak, my buddy Rich, Aunt Brenda in Florida, Uncle Todd, Mom, Dad, whoever's watching out there. Appreciate you. And I want to thank Daniel, too. He kicked their butt a lot of this year and kind of forced me to get better, at least. I felt like I improved throughout the years. So I want to thank him for making me a little better. And congrats to him on winning it all again this year. And thank you guys. I think you guys made the league even better than it was before. So appreciate you guys on Pit Stop TV.
Well, you guys getting better has made this league a ton better as well. The competition has gone sky high this season, and it may not be the same names as seasons prior, but new names rising to the occasion, filling those spots and filling those shoes. You guys have done a great job of it, buddy. Congratulations on what has been an amazing season, a few wins to boot. Can't wait to see what you can do next season in 2022.
Yeah, hell yeah. We'll be ready to go next year, so looking forward to it. Hopefully we gain a few more drivers, maybe have a few more drivers up there battling with us. That'd be great. But y'all, if I don't talk to you again, have a great holiday season, a good rest of your 2021, and hopefully we'll catch you around somewhere on the sim or maybe in real life, who knows. But y'all take care.
Absolutely, buddy. Chad Oxendine, one of the best in the league, gets things done. Third place this evening, and I'm sure we'll talk to him a lot more in the future. And I really do got to say, as we're getting down to this kind of season-ending, reflective kind of time, Eric, I really appreciate all of the kind words that have been said by all these drivers and everybody watching and those that have taken notice of the hard work that has gone into this season. And this is going to be a bit of a sentimental moment for me, at least, having come through this league and run a lot in this league, and usually struggles, we'll be honest. We can pull up my stats if we want to. They're not great, but to have that kind of flip of things, to go from just one of the other drivers usually struggling to get a top 10 to presenting this league in this kind of fashion that this league has never had before, and to be able to bring in the effort that this kind of league or this particular league has never had before, and to get all the kind words and the kind responses from everybody is really, really special. And to keep hearing what people had to say, and sure, maybe it's a bit of a copy paste, just want to thank people that are involved, but at least it sounds a lot like people mean it, and that is something really, really special at the end of the day.
So, for those who don't know, and I'm going to link on to the comments that you were making there, I used to be on the sim a lot in the early 2010s when my now wife and I elected to move down here. That was one thing that did not make the move south, and since we started getting a house, I just haven't gotten around to getting back involved in iRacing as a whole. But I kept myself busy finding ways to talk about race cars. Andrew, when I met you, you talked about some of the series that you were covering, and we dabbled in a couple of stock car and additional series and sports car series, some of which were absolutely amazing. But when you got the deal in order to be able to bring NORC to the masses on the Pit Stop TV platform, I cannot express how excited you were, and to be quite frank, initially I didn't quite get it. It didn't take me long when I started to watch how these races unfolded, when I started to see all the work that went into it, and when I started to see how much fun these guys have, and gals, each and every week. It really got me roped in, as this was something that I could not miss every Tuesday. As a matter of fact, I think when I had to miss a couple of races for our wedding and honeymoon a couple of months ago, it was kind of eating away at me just a little bit, that I did not know how these events were unfolding. And there is so much history behind this series. There's so many good people involved in this series, and I've had more fun doing this than I have most of my traditional at-the-track broadcasting, whether it be play-by-play or public address announcing duties. And I told you, the minute it stops being fun is the minute I'll stop doing it. And NORC is just one of those things where I know I'm destined to have a lot of fun with every Tuesday night. And I think the drivers echo the same sentiments. And, you know, we couldn't do it without Emerson Arden and Trey Shuttlesworth being able to do all their hard work, whether it be on the mic or in socials. And I don't think you get enough credit, Andrew. The stat packages you put together for these races every week are incredible. I don't know that anybody puts that much homework into their sim racing broadcast more than you, and it certainly shows. And I'm glad that people beyond just our team are able to appreciate it, and it really does mean a lot.
It's certainly been a really cool season to be a part of, and a really cool I guess, role shift. And I really want to thank John Barry and everybody, well, I mean, mostly John Barry, realistically, at NORC for trusting us with this season. It's been a fun one. And I do also want to acknowledge I saw 3 years today for your move out here to North Carolina, and I'm coming up on 3 years as well. So a nice little cool tidbit there. You talked about your move down here. It's 3 years today. So anyways, enough of that. Let's get to the results here. Will Klein, an amazing win, 44 laps led. I think that's got to be about the most of anybody with how much they shared the lead around. I'm not exactly certain, but it's up there. Daniel Falkingham, 1.6 seconds back. Chad Oxendine, 2.9. Then you get down to Femi Olat, a little over 4 seconds back. He's got some wins here. Ariadne's got 2 wins here previously. Now Will Klein, he's also got 2 wins. Zach Lindgren, just outside the top 5. Bobby Chaney, what a run for him. Zoltan Herzeg, sure dropped through the order a little bit due to when he pitted and getting the wall a few times, but hangs on to 8th by, look at that, just over a half a tenth over Howie Briss. And how about Spencer Owens? Very quiet, didn't talk about him very much, didn't see him very much, but he was going 3 wide when we did see him. Ends up 10th on the day.
It's a great run for Spencer there. Now we get to the second page results. Maybe that's why Spencer Owens and Sean Williams were doing dual donuts on the backstretch there post-race. Sean comes home 11th. Cole Freilich hit the wall early in the race after driving up to the top 5. We saw him stay in the game all the way throughout in that newly debuted Supra. Comes home in 12th. Brett Pancari, unfortunately, we really didn't talk about Brett that much tonight, but he was able to keep that car on lead lap all the way throughout. Thought this was going to be a good race for him after he got his win at Auto Club Speedway earlier in the year. Not really a factor throughout much of the night, but he did exactly what he always does. Found a way to stay in the game, finished 13th. And John Berry, I'm going to call it a rebound from the spin onto the pit lane and having this race stay green and to keep that car on the lead lap that could in turn, especially with Oxendine's absence next week, be one of the elements that's able to cement him second place in the standings next week. Only one way to find out. Patrick Colby, first car 1 lap down. Sheldon Lockey, also 1 lap down. TCB, we saw him up in the top 10 throughout most of the race, had to pit late. In fact, one of the only cars that came to the pit lane rather late, able to make it home to the checkered flag 2 laps behind the leaders. Cody Miller 3 laps down. Jared Darling was on that same awkward bit of a pit strategy, and I don't believe that he was able to make it home to the checkered flag after having to stop that final time. 13 laps down was Darling. And Jared Wishon, not quite sure what happened. He's been one of the most impressive NORC rookies we've had this season. Got going late. 20 at 60 laps behind the leaders. And of course, there are only 2 more cars that we had in the race. Josh Robin, who was multiple laps down early, finally conceded defeat a few laps in this race. And Hayes Booth brought out the one and only caution after racing up into the top 5, catching the wall, and then spinning off of turn 2.
What a night it was. What a season it's been here in NORC Season 13. It would not be possible without our partners here at Pit Stop TV, of course, leading things off with Tucson Sound Art, your picture, your music. Make sure to use promo code PitStopTV at 10% off of your order at checkout today. Of course, we also want to acknowledge the fine folks up in Maine at Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. They want to give you the best care that money can buy, and they're darn good at doing so as well. Check out permanentmakeupinmaine.com or Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine on Facebook for more information today. Let's also not forget Whiplash Media, the official graphic and camera provider of Pit Stop TV. Go to pitstoptv.com/whiplash and order yourself some camera packs for your iBroadcast camera needs, or even just, I don't know, picture taking or what have you. Doesn't matter what it might be for. If you need cameras for iRacing, go to us, Whiplash Media. Facebook might be the best place to do it, I'll be honest, but by all means, Whiplash Media for any of your camera needs here on the iRacing.com sim. And it's more than just cameras as well. Graphics, anything that goes into these broadcasts is done by Whiplash Media, done through Whiplash Media, and a lot of great stuff happens. And also, of course, BAM Racing videos by a race fan for the racing community. BAM has been a great part of the Pit Row TV team throughout 2021, and even lending his skills in his North Wilkesboro B-roll to us here at Pit Stop TV. You might recall that from Race 4 way back when, earlier this year for NORC. Eric, it was a fun one. There's not too many other ways to put that. It was just fun. I think every part of this evening was good. There was a lot to talk about, a lot of strategy, twists and turns, great racing, great battles. It was fun. We were never left without something to talk about.
The opening 2/3 of this race had me on the edge of my seat from a racing perspective, and I would say the final third of this race had me on the edge of my seat from a strategy perspective. That last pit stop really did come down to end up being the deciding factor in this race, and you know, for Daniel Falkingham, had to settle for a runner-up spot yet again, despite being able to celebrate his championship. For Chad Oxendine, this was really his last-ditch effort because of his commitment to go to Vegas next week. All I could say, Chad, is be careful at the roulette wheel. And finally, of course, the storyline of Will Klein being the next different winner in NORC competition. We talked about the fact that he made the chase, but it's just been an abysmal stretch of races ever since that kicked off at Indy a few rounds ago. And we're finally able to see that car get to victory lane, and it was no fluke. He just outdrove everybody at the end of the 134 laps, and I don't know what more you could ask for in a race of this nature. We saw guys slipping and sliding, comers and goers, people with their hands full, and I kind of expect more of the same in order to put a period on this excellent season that we've had next week in Las Vegas. And like I said, NORC races are things that I get excited about, and I'm already looking forward to next Tuesday.
I'm looking forward to next Tuesday for Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but also not at the same time. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. This season has been so good. To think that it's coming to a close is kind of incredible, kind of surreal. But hey, all great things must come to an end at some point, right? Let's talk about some of the broadcasts we got coming up in other respects. It's going to be a big week here on Pit Stop TV. The work does not stop tonight. There's a lot that we've got going on. Tomorrow night, the Hickory Motor Speedway, the Cars Esport Tour. Hickory just dropped on the iRacing.com service, one of the best tracks in the Southeast. I've been lucky enough to be able to see a race there as a fan and cover multiple races there with the Cars Tour and Pit Road TV and Cars Tour TV. There's nothing quite like Hickory Motor Speedway. I'm just going to be honest. The historical factor, the importance factor through the course of NASCAR history, the racing, I mean, just everything there is so good. Josh Berry, Deke McCaskill, Bobby McCarty, they get it done here. It is the racetrack that you have got to win at if you want to be a late model driver in the Southeast, I feel like. It's a great racetrack. I'm so glad it's on the iRacing.com sim, and I cannot wait to get there tomorrow night, 6:40 p.m. Eastern. Alongside, we'll also have coverage from Pocono Raceway. Now, Pocono is a great track in and of itself. I don't know that I can hype it up quite as much as Hickory Motor Speedway, but Pocono is good. It's a tricky triangle. So many great races have come from Pocono as well. The Outlaw Sim Series are taking trucks there tomorrow night. Emerson Arden on the call along with Devin Kent Zimmerman. Should be a fun one. We've also got, again, a lot more coming this week. In fact, 5 more broadcasts coming this week in addition to tonight. We started off, the rest of the week anyways, with the MSRA Truck Series at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Chad Oxendine mentioned that he's going to Las Vegas for NASCAR. Well, guess what else is going to Las Vegas? The MSRA Truck Series. They'll be there, and we'll see if maybe a surprise competitor is in there as well. Friday evening, we've got the Intimidator Challenge, ladies and gents, and if you don't know what that means, the Intimidator Challenge is sprint cars, asphalt sprint cars it is, at Talladega Superspeedway. Now, when I mentioned this to one of my buddies who's big into Southeast racing, especially dirt racing, he thought, well, is the Talladega dirt track on iRacing? No, it's not the Talladega dirt track, it's Talladega Superspeedway. Talladega Superspeedway with sprint cars is going to be crazy. It's such a weird combination to think about, but it's going to be a lot of fun. 76 laps of action this Friday night. Today is the last day to register as well. One of their final practice sessions is currently underway. There's still time to register. Head over to our Facebook page, and there is a post about it. You can find out where to register now. If you want to get in, you've got to do it now. Time is running out. Saturday, we've got the NARL Cash Days at Long Beach. What more do you need other than 4 hours of racing with GT3 cars at Long Beach? And we've got Tony Kanon's teams in the field. We've got Daniel Morad's teams in the field. I've received word that Casey Kerwin, eNASCAR iRacing Coca-Cola Series driver Casey Kerwin will be in the field apparently alongside Daniel Morad and a lot of the best Brazilian sim racers on Tony Kanon's team. I believe Full-Time Racing or Full-Time Esports. They just went through a name change, so I apologize there. They will be in the field. A lot of big names will be in the field Saturday. Coverage gets kicked off at 11. You'll want to be there almost bright and early, I guess, depending on where you are in the country. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun from Long Beach. Can't wait to get down to it. Eric, there's a lot of places to follow along with our Pit Stop TV coverage. So many. So many. There's 5, in fact. And 4 of them are listed here because Twitch and Instagram have the same.
And I will tell you, I think I have the easy job. I get to talk in most cases. Andrew's not only talking but handling production duties. But when it comes to our NORC coverage and a lot of our coverage here on Pit Stop TV, we have a lot of folks. Sometimes it's Andrew, sometimes it's Emerson Arden. Tonight it was Emerson Arden. Sometimes it's Trey Shuttlesworth. But in order to keep you up to date and to all that's happening here on the platform, Andrew just listed off a bunch of things. We got a lot more cooking. These are the ways in which you could do so as far as being able to stay in tune with what we got going on. Facebook.com/PitStopTV/ Instagram, which is usually my go-to resource during the race. Emerson Arden took a beautiful shot of some of the multi-group racing that was happening here tonight. That's at Instagram.com/pit_stop_TV/ there. Twitter.com/pitstoptv_. And even though that I'm on the call for the Car Store race tomorrow night, I'll be freed up for the Outlaw Sim Series afterwards. I'll be able to catch some of the action going on not only Thursday night, Friday night. I'm excited for Friday night. That's going to be ridiculously fun. And as well as the 4-hour contest on Saturday, youtube.com/c/pitstoptv1. All I do is turn on the Roku device, go to YouTube, search out Pit Stop TV. I'm able to find it there and watch all the action, especially if I happen to be out and about on the road, even on my mobile device. So many ways for you to stay up to speed with all that we got cooking here on the platform. And as Andrew alluded to, there's a lot, but it's a lot of really good stuff.
I do want to mention somebody, and this is a super fan of the NORC iRacing series at this point. He's in every single broadcast chat and often interacting with us on social media. I do want to give a big shout out as we start to reflect on the season that has been. I got to give a big shout out to Logan Detweiler, and not just Logan Detweiler actually, but also Matthew Kowal out there in the chat. These two guys are always watching along here with us at Pit Stop TV, and Logan pops into a lot of other broadcasts as well, not just the NORC iRacing series. So I think he can certainly vouch for the fact that there's a lot of great racing here on the channel throughout the entire week. So if any of you NORC regulars maybe are hung up, maybe do I want to tune in or not, there's a lot to watch. I think he can recommend that there are some great races that go on throughout the week here on Pit Stop TV, and you should definitely tune in. Follow his lead, Logan Detweiler, big super fan here, and he watches a lot of sim racing, so certainly appreciate the fanfare there from Logan. As we get ready to wrap things up, I'm trying to wrap through all the bases. I think we're at first, we're second, maybe a pickle between third and home. I'm not really sure right now, Eric. It's been a fun one. I don't know how many more bases we can cover. This has just been the best season, I think, ever of NORC iRacing Series competition, and I'm so glad we've been able to cover it.
Hard to believe that we're looking at a stat sheet of a season where one driver ended up winning 9 races, another 3, another 4. We had a couple of other independent winners like that of a Will Klein tonight, Brett Pancari, Cody Miller. Olat, of course, had 3 wins on the season. There's just when you have a couple of drivers who are able to hog up on the victories, you think, well, that doesn't sound like too much fun. If you go back and watch all of our broadcasts and all the races that have taken place, they have all been thrillers. I mean, we really haven't had a single runaway night, except for maybe the road courses. Maybe I'll throw that in there if you want me to be a realist about it. But there is so much that happens. There's so much camaraderie, so much respect, and there's so much fun that takes place. And it all begins with TCB and his commemorative yeehaw at the beginning of every one of these races, and it doesn't end until we sign off, and then it just kicks back up the following week. I said it earlier and I'll say it again. I've had an absolute blast covering these races. It's bittersweet to know we only got one to go next Tuesday night, but I hope, I'll echo the sentiments that some of the other supporters have said. I hope that this is the beginning of a long-standing tradition and partnership that we have here on the platform with NORC, because it's a good time through and through.
Before we go, once again, make sure to check us out on social media. A bunch of links here. You can't click them, unfortunately. I wish it would work that way, but you can type them into your search bar. Find us on social media apps, what have you. So a lot of places you can keep up with Pit Stop TV, and we certainly suggest that you do so. That'll do it, however, from the virtual Chicagoland Speedway. Happy to have had you all here, tuning in and joining us for tonight's action, and we sincerely hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast at least as much as we did. For all of Pit Stop TV, Eric Brennan alongside on the mic this evening, Emerson Arden on social media duties. It's been a fun one. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV. And once again, for the second to last time this season, thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time.
Have you found yourself trying to hide your joy because you're unhappy with your teeth? Your smile is the first feature noticed in an interview, on a date, or in family photos. We want you to be able to shine bright as your best self, and our teeth whitening system is the perfect step toward restoring your confidence.
SoundArt introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home. By combining the best of two products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. SoundArt ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options.